start of classes ended the relaxed 3 days of summer. It didn't take long for you to get back into the swing of the school year routine. Schedules and homework became the new normal. Derek wasn't around nearly as much, but school and after-school activities, there weren't many opportunities for him to take the trip to your neighborhood. Oh yeah, Derek was the kid with the jersey, right? The one that, wanted to do, a marriage pact with me, but I said no. Actually, I don't think I said no, I just said I'd think about it. But yeah, I'm not going for Derek. I mean, Derek is too baby. I like Cove. Sometimes you'd hear that he was at a training camp or something like that, but you weren't always sure what he was up to. But he still kept in touch over the phone as best you could. You kind of lost contact as time went on. This one. Jeremy kid did disappear after that summer. No one ever heard from him again. Where he went or what he might be up to was a mystery. More summers came and went like the waves on the shore coming in and out. In your second year of high school, someone new started to visit Sunset Bird, a sunny girl named Terry Brooke. She was a friend Cove made due to them being ocean obsessed. Terry was more than glad to befriend you too. Someone close to Cove had to be good company, she felt. You were pleased to get along with her as well. Terry was tight with another girl you had known distantly from a school for a long time, Miranda Eckert. You saw more and more of her as time went on, thanks to Terry and Miranda's own outreach. After a while, all of you developed a real friendship together. Yay! High school friendship, I think! As for your home life, the Nyan Posse's also had developments. Changing laws and public perception countrywide made it possible for your moms to openly wear their wedding rings without questions. Oh shit! Hey yo, progress, let's go! Can we get some pogs in the chat for my moms being open about being lesbians? Well, actually one of them is a lesbian, the other one is bi. Though they had a wedding years ago, it was only recently that the union was officially recognized everywhere in the US. That was a good day to say the least. Elizabeth came into her own and stopped being quite as irritable. She no longer worried about perceived childishness as she grew up for real. She didn't mind being called Lizzie again, although most people used Liz. She eventually graduated high school and moved out to attend college in another state. Aww. Well, I guess she'll be gone now. Oh wait, summer! We'll see her in the summer, but still. Damn, time flies. It was a lot for you to adjust to your older sister being gone. Liz never let you forget her role in your life, although and kept in touch. Cove's relationships with his family improved over the years. Kai revisited several times after that summer, and things became easier between the two. He was also closer with his dad than ever before. You knew they talked more, and that helped prevent a lot of friction before it could start. And Cove only continued to open up to his parents and the rest of the world. He was so bright he shone. He would willingly join conversations, make jokes, and put in an effort not to use overly blunt phrasing. Hey, it's getting better! Good job, Cove! Cove remained interested in everything across the spectrum. He loved to learn and stay inside. He also loved to get outside and participate in more physical activities. He was multi-talented. Things had shifted between you and Cove. You had been friends for years, but the closer you became, the more you felt for him. After all this time, he wasn't just your neighbor. He wasn't only your friend, or even a guy you were interested in. You were in love with him. You loved Cove. You knew that fact for certain. There was no one else you had those feelings for. Hey yo, let's go! It was strange to look back on it all. The future faded into your present, and then it was simply the past. Even the most fundamental parts of your life couldn't last forever. You felt that the most poignantly the day you inevitably graduated high school. It was over. It would not be going back ever again. From now on, what came next was your choice. You would be directing your own life. That was where you were currently. The summer after school had ended, the first summer of true freedom. Oh, this is the first summer of graduating high school. Alright, we're officially adults now. What used to be reprieve from the typical was now going to be your first step into adulthood. One fine summer morning, you took in what became a very special scene. The whole family having a meal together. Oh, Liz! She's so pretty! Aww! It seems like it was just yesterday that she was the bratty little girl wearing the sunflower dress. Aw, Liz. Your big sister Liz still hasn't lived at home full time for a couple years, but she arrived last week to spend the season here. It was an off semester for her. She wanted to make sure she was in town because he had now also graduated high school, so who knew how much rarer these moments would become in the future. You watched on as Liz laughed good-naturedly over a comment Mom made. Her Elizabeth-only mindset had only been a phase. Nearly any nickname was welcome at this point in her life. Strangely, even though she'd moved away, you'd lately felt closer to her than you had in a long time. Well, yeah, siblings can just tend to grow closer over time. I mean, take me and my little sister, for example. I used to, not like my little sister, but now I love her. She's my little baby sister, and I will protect her with my life. But then again, she's always embarrassed of me, so, the feeling's not exactly mutual. Though she used to idolize me, now she just doesn't. Growing up, kids, am I right? Anyway, you'd idly scooped up more of your breakfast and chewed absentmindedly. You were a vegetarian? Ew. You're a vegan? Ew. You were a pescatarian? Ew. You were a politarian? What the fuck is that? What's a politarian? I'm googling that. A person who consumes no animal flesh with the exception of chicken or other poultry such as chicken. Okay. I generally ate whatever because I'm not a vegan or whatever. Vegan's derogatory. And Amelia had reflected that. It included just about everything your moms had made, though you often made your own food nowadays. With Liz around, though, your parents made even more options than usual. Your sister had been vegetarian for a while, and they wanted to make sure that she had choices too. Oh no, Liz, not you! Oh, moms are so old now. I mean, it makes sense since most of their daughters are, like, adults now, but they're so old. But they're still so pretty. Conversation had gone on idly without you fully taking in the words, until your ears were piqued when Ma started on a bit of town gossip. And so that's how you heard the news. Alright, now stop burying the lead and tell us, what is this so-called news? Ma giggled as she cast a look across the table, satisfied that she had everyone's attention. Well, it turns out that Donald's won't be renting out the condo up the street as per Sunset Bird tradition, for the first time in what must be nearly 2 decades. A chorus of gasps and shocked expressions were had all around. After the initial shock, your eyebrows pinched. Ma may have considered them by name, but you and Liz always viewed them exclusively as the mean old couple who would yell at anyone under 25 who crossed their paths. Oh yeah, they're the couple that yelled at Cove, I think. Your ma continued on with the story, spreading strawberry jam over a piece of toast as she did so. They decided not to take big trips anymore. Friends and family will be visiting them at their home. That's so nice for them then. Have a good summer, mean grandparents with no grandkids away from us. That's a relief. It's kind of sad they can't travel anymore. I hope they're still okay, even with the army. My thoughts exactly, Liz. Finally they can piss off. You didn't have anything to comment on that development. Finally they can piss off. Be nice, kids. You don't want to end up like them, do you? At least they won't be here to yell at my children anymore. And then blunt comment got laughter from all 3 of you. Engrossed in conversation once more, you continue to chat with your family until the meal is over. Step 3. 3rd time's charm. Oh, it is step 3. As it went, once the food was eaten, the cleanup had to be done. Liz took a roll of washing the dishes and then passed them to you for drying and putting away. You had a set of cups in front of you that needed to go on the top shelf of the cabinet. It was effortless to do. You were very tall. That's pretty straightforward for you. You were tall. You had to stretch, but it was doable. You were an average height. It was a struggle to get them without a stepping stool. You were short. Stepping stool is mandatory for you. You were very short. This one. That was simply your lot in life. You'd always been vertically challenged. You felt great about how things were. You hoped you would still grow more. You wished you had stopped growing earlier. You didn't think much about it. You didn't even know what to think about it. I didn't really think much about it. That was a struggle for you because you remember how you used to feel so content about it when you were younger. Liz shook you out of your internal musing by starting up an impromptu conversation. She seemed to be voicing the thoughts that had been buzzing around in her own head. I have to say, going back for another semester this fall is pretty intimidating. You'd think after the first year or two I'd have a handle on things, but no. You still glance at her, still placing cups in the proper place. I guess it's only fair. My first roundup was pretty general classes, and year one of my architecture major was the basics. Oh, she's an architect major. Nice. Good on you, Liz. Now it feels serious. I have to actually know some things. The laugh she gave was flippantly airy, but the way she scrubbed at the plates had more force than necessary. I know you can handle it. I think it's really cool you want to be an architect. That does sound hard. You simply shrugged. You merely listened to her venting. I know you can handle it. How sweet of you to believe in me. Thanks. Your older sister's mouth quirked into a small smile. I'll be fine, one way or another. But I'm not going to try and scare you away from college, if that's even your plan. What's going on with that, anyway? You had a solid plan for a long time. You came to a firm conclusion recently. You kind of have a general idea. You had absolutely no idea. You hadn't even let yourself think about it. It was too much. No college, so I'm just going to say this one. I didn't go to college because school just isn't for everyone. And that's okay. School just wasn't for me. I mean, I didn't even bother going to college. It's just, high school was a lot for me. And I feel like I would have struggled if I went to college. And and now looking at like the nearest community college, yeah, I would have struggled immensely. Mostly because my ex goes there, and I don't know if he's graduated or not, but I do not want to risk running into him, or I will have a panic attack. But yeah, Sometimes college isn't just for anybody, and that's okay. I'm happy with where I am. But I'm not happy with getting the fucking bottom collar. Thanks, pros. You answered the question as much as you were able to, willing to. Liz's smile grew more reassuringly as you did. You made it through 12 years of full-time education already. You've got plenty going for you. Sometimes it felt hard to believe your public schooling experience was over. In the end, you had graduated at the top of your class, you scored through with high marks, you had to work extremely hard, but you were rewarded with great grades. Yeah, you have been an average graduate, you struggled to reach the benchmarks but made it. You didn't try hard, but made it regardless. Average. I was pretty average. And you were going to miss it, you felt satisfied living up there, you wish it could have gone better, and you were glad it was truly behind you. You were going to miss it. Yeah, despite high school being hell, I do miss going to school. I miss being young, you know? It had been a familiar and enjoyable part of your life. Liz picked up on the silence her question ended up creating. She decided it was time to make a closing statement on the topic.
You're a good girl.
Do what's best for you, and we'll be here to back it up. Thanks, Liz. At that, Liz happily passed the final dish in your way. She waved a soapy, soaked hand as a farewell and moved on to her next task for the cleanup job. You refocused on getting the last pieces, but back where they belonged. You eventually moved on to a new chore, but that was interrupted by the sound of your cell phone. Ooh, is that Cove? It was the phone's default ringtone. You used a silly novelty song as the ringtone. You stood on one of your most beloved songs as your ringtone. The phone just set to vibrate. This one. You casually picked it up from the table where you had placed it earlier. The phone was a couple years old at this point, having been a 16th birthday gift from your parents. You decided which model to get, but you got to pick the color. It has to be pink. Where's pink? Pink! Neil, it's just a phone. You didn't do anything to decorate it. And it had a special charm attached to it. Charm. Which was the dolphin keychain Cove bought you when you were a kid, a lantern based on the game Lake of Voices, a small shell, a crystal, a string of beads, a cat face, a music note, a heart. A cat face. The screen lit up as you gave the little device a swipe with one finger. You were informed by caller ID that it was Lee. You weren't surprised. Despite having busier and busier lives and not living in the same town, you still had a good relationship with your cousin at the same age. Oh yeah, Lee was the adorable girl that was like super supportive. Especially once the miracle that both of you having your own phones had actually happened. She got hers first though. Tapping at the accept button, you answered her call. A familiar bubbly voice came through right after.
Hi.
Oh, she's so pretty! Aww. Also, oh, look at my phone! It's pink! And there's a cat! Just like I wanted! Let's go! Hiya. I trust I'm not interrupting anything major. Only some cleaning around the house. Oh, then you're welcome for my call. A distraction from that must have been desperately needed. Yes, thank you, my dear cousin. Hey, I love doing chores, you joked. I like cleaning protestingly earnestly. It's good to hear from you, even though she couldn't see it. You shook your head at that. Yes, thank you, my dear cousin.
My pleasure.
She giggled and you could hear the jangling of the jewelry she must be wearing. Nothing amazing is happening for me either. I'm bored and felt like chatting. My morning shift ended, so I'm free for the rest of the day. Woo! That's good. You were off to your part-time job today. You hadn't started working anywhere yet, so you couldn't relate. Part-time job. Like you, Lee had started dipping her toes into the workplace as of late. It made keeping in touch frequently even more complicated, but you both managed. What about you? It's been pretty normal.
Cool.
That's you then. So, how's Mr. Cove Holden doing? There was a teasing bent on her tone. She was never willing to let up on what was going on between the two of you. But that name was incredibly familiar in your ears. Cove, your next-door neighbor for the past decade at this point. The two of you were close. That was all you can think of it. He was your best friend, at least. Yeah, in a minute, you felt more than just that. He was an important friend, but you secretly hoped he'd tell you he felt more than that. You were in love with him, but didn't want to talk about it at this point in your life. But he was more than just someone who lived on the same street. He was your boyfriend. Oh, I don't want to make him my boyfriend yet. I want to make him confess. I'm gonna save real quick. I'm gonna save this. I'm gonna save this here. Because I'm not sure what to pick. Because I don't want him to be my boyfriend already. Like, I want him to confess. So, I kind of want to do... this one. Cove was so very special to you. You could only dream that it was mutual. You knew you wouldn't be able to tell him that, though. Maybe he would take the plunge. Are you even surviving without the boy being 10 feet away at all times? Or is everything right with the world again and he's back? No, Lee, he isn't here. Just like he wasn't here yesterday, or the last time he asked, or the time before that.
Sorry.
My bad. Can you blame me? Doesn't it seem like he should have made his grand return already? Plus, they want to visit soon, and he needs to be there too. You could understand where she was coming from. This was certainly outside the norm. But the past couple months, and the last few weeks especially, Cove had been going to his mom's place in Nevada. The two of you still regularly stayed in contact over texts and calls, but still, your mind began to drift back in time to all the prior trips he'd taken to visit her. Almost every year he had gone away for a while and then he'd be back. It made you sad and lonely when it happened. You never minded it. It was kind of nice to have breaks from each other. You weren't a fan, but dude, it was shitty. It upset you. Your younger self worried about him leaving for good. It made you sad. You sent him letters the entire time he was away. Your mom's helped you ship out care packages to him and his mom. You gave him special treasures to take with him before he left. You kept an eye on his house for him while he wasn't there. You were incapable of doing anything until he was back. Special treasures! Some were just to borrow and others were for him to keep forever. He sent you letters while there in return. That's just how it was in the past, but lately he had been trying to see her as much as he could before taking long trips to another state became too impractical to do. His part-time work could become full-time soon, or he could be moving somewhere else for school. Cove hadn't actually been entirely clear what his plans were after graduation. Cove was hesitant to speak on that, even with you. It couldn't be evaded forever, though. You both knew that.
Well,
Maybe we should switch it up with a non-Cove related topic. Sounds like a plan. The rest of the conversation rolled on. Not much longer, though. Lee had to go and needed to finish your responsibilities around the house. The both of you exchanged goodbyes and you went back to what you'd been working on before the call came in. As you wrapped up the last of your chores, you were approached by Liz wearing a cheeky smile. I've got Mom's keys. Want to get out of this tiny town and do some shopping in a real city? That sounds great.
good.
I'm driving. That was obvious. You didn't know how to drive. You were glad for that. You still just had a learner's permit. Even though you could drive too, it was her plan. She could do as she wanted. It's nice for her to do that, but you had a license, but try to avoid driving when possible. This one, because I do not know how to drive, nor do I plan to drive. Go get your wallet and anything else. We're going now. With a nod, you made a quick detour to collect your stuff from your bedroom. You had money saved up from all the part-time work you'd done, as well as from gifts you'd received. After making sure you were both fully prepared for the long haul to the largest city in the surrounding area, you buckled into the car. It was a smooth ride there, with light conversation about what shops to stop at, and the radio blasting. Your trip there breezed by. In what felt like no time, you had gone from the cruising down the road to cruising through the mall. Liz had her interest to check out, and you yours. Your hobbies and skills were still the ones you developed when you were younger. You'd gone into new things when you'd grown up. This one. When turning a corner down the new length of the mall, your eyes caught on a little gift store. Your friends and family had recently given you many presents for graduating high school. You realized you wanted to get a graduation gift yourself to give to Cove. You had a gift of your own ready to give Cove when the chance came. You really appreciate what you had gotten. This one. Graduation may have already come and gone, but Cove wasn't really around them anyway. You keep an eye out for something good, though you might have something nice for him at home already. Eventually, the malls explored in fall, with every shop of note being checked over. Rather than going home, decide to walk over to some smaller stores nearby. Liz had many thoughts on that topic.
So?
Honestly, malls are not a bastion of society. Even if smaller stores require extra distance, the brands are so much more. And your sister abruptly stopped speaking, walking right in the middle of the path. It was a good thing no one was behind her. She seemed to entirely shut off for a moment. Liz? The attempt to catch her attention was unsuccessful. Something else had all of her focus. Before you could puzzle out what might be happening, she began to mumble out of the corner of her mouth. Yui, don't draw attention, but look. What? With a harsh whisper and a subtle jerk of her head, she urged you once more.
Hey.
Look! You followed her gaze as best as you could to a large bunch of colorful teens strolling down the same path. Okay. You faced back over to your sister with a confused expression and an unspoken question. What were you supposed to be seeing there? Yui, doesn't one of them seem familiar? Oh shit, is this Shiloh? Oh my god, is this Shiloh? She was practically bouncing at this point, so you looked at the group over once again, and this time you saw what she was seeing. Oh, it is Shiloh! Oh, he's so precious! Oh, baby boy is so big now! Oh, and his freckles! My boy is back! Amongst the collection of strangers with brown hair, gray eyes, and lots of freckles. That's Shiloh! Our Shiloh, from when we were kids! Yep, that was definitely him. I can't believe it, he's honestly just there. That's hilarious, that's incredible. Oh, but how do we talk to him? We'd have to pull him away from all those other people, and what if I'm wrong? Your mouth opened to reply, but she cut it off with her own answer to the question. I've got it. I'll shout the name Shiloh, and when we can act like it wasn't us. If he responds to that, we'll know without a doubt it's him. You keep an eye out to see if he looks. Liz, can't you just try talking to him normally? We are not doing that. That's a terrible plan. Why do I have to be the one who watches? Just try it, fine, you didn't know how to react. Why do I have to be the one who watches? Likely without even hearing what you had to say, Liz put her plan into action. Shiloh! She oddly projected the word across the way and then put on an act of casualness, turning her head away from the scene while brushing at the skirt of her dress. In a supremely awkward moment, you can only stand there as attention in the area shifted to the two of you, thanks to your sister's shout. One of the many startled bystanders who became altered to your presence, one of them was the boy. From a distance, his large eyes met yours. He looked. A wide grin took over Liz's face. She pushed the rim of her sun hat up away from her face while swishing back and around to greet her old friend directly. Shiloh! Waving, she stepped a bit closer to express her intention to meet. Without really closing the gap, she wanted him to come to her. He presumed to be Shiloh, surprised at the call-out. He stole a quick glance at the crowd he was with, and he quickly glanced back to your way. He was trying to double-check something. Liz remained steadfast with her gaze trained on him, and ultimately he broke away from the rest of them. After a light-footed jog across the brick path, the young man pleasantly presented himself in front of you and Liz. Hi, I like your hat. Just that simple greeting had Liz giggling.
Hey.
I'm not sure if you remember this, but I'm Lizzie, and that's Yui. We were all friends when we were little kids. His already wide eyes grew even larger, their gaze darting between you and Liz, his previously chipper demeanor to fade into something delicate. I'm really sorry, but I think you have the wrong person. Oh. Well, this is awkward. You could tell not being instantly recognized was going to make this exchange more of a challenge. Still, Liz was undeterred. It was a long time ago. You were really young. I get why you feel like that. However, I'm positive I'm right. You're exactly the same. That face, the freckles, how genuinely you try to phrase things. You're even still wearing a hat. Instinctively, he looked up at his headwear with creased brows, not making the connection on why the hat meant something to her.
Okay.
We knew each other, okay? An uneasy smile settled on him as the silence followed Liz's speech. He was picking his next words carefully. And then the quiet was obliterated by a new voice bursting into conversation. Shiloh, what are you doing? The rest of the group already left. A field trip is not a vacation. We are on a schedule. Startled, your head snapped towards the path. A distinctively unhappy individual, piercing magenta eyes, dark brown skin, and a sharp jaw stormed your way. He carried a cloud of authority with him, despite looking like he wasn't even 18 yet. Sorry. I didn't mean to ditch. Shiloh, whose name was now officially confirmed, gestured with a hand to add to the explanation of his absence as the stranger watched impatiently. They thought they recognized me as someone they knew, but it was a tiny misunderstanding. Liz theoretically, as well as literally, put her foot down at that, stomping in frustration and getting more childish the longer she was around her childhood companion.
Come on.
We do know you! Shiloh merely shrunk in on himself. The tone he spoke with was now pained. Sorry. Oh, you know him. Is that it? The stranger spoke in a dismissively scoffing tone, as if the words sounded so absurd to him that it was almost amusing. Almost, but the sternness of his demeanor quickly reinstated himself. Well, do you know me? I'll tell you. I'm someone who has been forced against his will to be aware of what's going on in Shiloh's ridiculous personal life for a year. If the two of you had importance in his general day-to-day existence, it would have come up by now. Don't bother trying to exaggerate any trivial connection you might have. It's not good enough. He's with us, and you'll survive without him. Now stop loitering in the road. It's rude.
Excuse me?
We're the rude ones? The high-strung ranting from an audible gasp from Shiloh, who finally started to speak up again in defense. Nate, that's really mean. It's also true. We're leaving. With that declaration, the unofficially introduced Nate dignantly spun on his heels and walked speedily towards where the group went, completely confident that Shiloh would follow behind. Oh, people can sure have bad attitudes, huh? Why can't they just try to get along? It's not hard. Don't worry, though. I bet you won't have to deal with him again. And I'm sorry, I can't say to talk to you, but I hope you have a really nice life. Bye. Aww. Well, that sucks. And that was that. His final parting words given, Shiloh left the two of you behind to catch up with his own life that he had to go live. Liz watched his exit stunned, only to frown when it hit her that he was really gone as quickly as he appeared. It happened so fast he hadn't even been able to get a word in. She sighed all the energy she built up, releasing within the breath. I could have told him his last name was Fields. His birthday is October 30th. That would have proved it, but no. I'm sorry, Liz. Wow. Shiloh grew up to be dumb. You were left feeling equally deflated. Whoever Nate is, he sucks. Well, damn. You couldn't help but laugh. You were left feeling equally deflated. 'Cause I like Shiloh. That could have been a nice moment, and instead, it was disappointing. Do you want to go catch up with him? Liz nearly shook her head, pushing off childish thoughts. I think we can leave it there. Thanks. He's in the middle of a high school field trip, and it was already enough to being able to see him. There's something reassuring about witnessing firsthand that he's still out there, enjoying his own part of the world. Though, if given the chance, I could definitely have a few words with him about the company he's got. She laughed, but you could tell there wasn't much humor to it. She was mad at that guy, even if she was happy to let Shiloh go. Maybe they're only with each other because of the field trip, and it's not usually how things are.
Right?
True, we can only hope the same for him as he did for us. Have a nice life, Shiloh. Have a good life, Shiloh. Bye, Shiloh. We'll miss you. Good luck out there. You'll need it. You didn't have anything else to say. Have a good life. Liz smiled at you, and at the self-confidence you knew you felt so well from her. Come on, little baby sister. Let's finish our own trip. Yeah. No matter how either of you really felt about the occurrence, it was something you simply had to accept. People you know just disappear and reappear in the most unexpected ways. The two of you enjoyed what remained of your outing until it was time to return home. By the time you arrived back, the sun was already beginning to set. You arched your back as you stretched your arms toward the ceiling. While it had been a good day, it had enough activity to cover an entire week. Liz tried to hide a yawn behind her hands. You weren't the only one feeling worn out. I'll be heading up to your room, the guest room, since mine stopped being available as soon as I was out the door. Her tone was light. She had quite a lot to say on the subject when you had taken over her bigger room after she left for college, but there had been many trips back home for her since then. The room hasn't been hers for years. It was more of a running joke now that she continued to bring the topic up to this day. Let it go, Liz. I didn't see your name on it. Thank you, Liz. It's a really nice room. Thank you for being so gracious about giving it up. Just wanted to follow in my big sister's shoes. I'm sorry. Let it go, Liz. Never. A small laugh was shared between you and your older sister. You better believe you'll be back with the guest room when you've got your own place and we're both in town for a visit. We can take turns. You'll have Thanksgiving, I'll get Christmas. Sure. Don't count on it. That's alright with me. I don't need it. We'll take turns. What a reasonable and mature suggestion. I'll think about accepting it. She flashed her familiar grin and you couldn't help but feel glad that she was back around, even if it was temporary. With that, she plodded off to the spare room. You're ready to do the same. Moving into a new space was your first opportunity to decorate from scratch. Oh, I get to design my room! Alright! Alright, close enough. It's not the fanciest looking room, but it's still something. Oop. That's gone. Let me fix that. There we go. You're really satisfied with the feel of your tiny part of the world. As your thoughts drifted, you tried to bite down another yawn. It was no good. Your bed was now lodged into your mind, and all you could think about was collapsing on it. You trudged up the stairs to your room. Stepping inside, you closed the door behind you, blocking the rest of the house. When you turned back around, you realized you were not alone there. Comfortably perched on the windowsill was someone very familiar to you. Is it Cove? Cove Holden! Let's go, boys! Woo! My boy! Oh, I forgot we gave him a ponytail. Oh, he's so cute. Surprise? His tone was easy and relaxed. It certainly was a surprise. You hadn't expected him to be within the state, never mind your own house. He hadn't answered how he had suddenly just appeared back in Sunset Bird, though to be fair, you had been so astounded there hadn't been much of an opportunity for him to chat with you. Thankfully, Cove was only waiting for a good moment to start, and began to explain.
So...
I got in about 15 minutes ago. No one was home, so I figured I'd come in the usual way. The window. A small smile had formed on his face. You were still staring at him, unable to blink in case he disappeared. You could still barely believe that he was really there, mere feet away from you. Oh, he's blushing. I think he likes me back. I left my bags in your backyard. I hope that's alright. That was when you truly understood. Cove had come straight to you upon getting back to town. You were his first port of call, taking precedence above all else. He laughed. The realization made you bashful. You shook your head at his antics. You stayed frozen, the shock yet to melt away. You walked over to join him. You ran to Cove. You ran to Cove. Every second away from him was moments too long. As you approached, Cove quickly hopped from the windowsill to meet you. You're too crazy. I'm so glad you're here. I missed you. Trouble's back in town. I can't believe my eyes. It's the most amazing man in the world. He didn't need to say anything. I can't believe my eyes. It's the most amazing man in the world. He ruffled his hair. You gently punched him on the arm. You wrapped him in a gentle embrace. You pulled him into a bone-crushing hug. You jumped into his arms. You smiled at him. Jumped into his arms! Let's go, boys! You reached out towards him in motion. Your intentions clear. Cove opened up his stance in preparation, his face already getting red. Once close enough, you leaped onto his chest and wrapped your arms around his neck. With a small stumble back, he caught you and held on by tucking his arms over your lower back. Taking your shoulders for a pillow, he laid his cheek against you. The whole world is a little much, Yui. His laugh was light, modestly battling over your compliment, and only served to underscore how much he deserved it. I love him so much. Oh, baby. Even if he hadn't said it outright, you would have gotten the message from his body language. Cove was grinning widely, his cheeks burying his eyes, which gleamed like hidden gems. But he looked at you as if you were the most exciting treasure of all. How's the trip? Yeah, I had a great time. Cove told you about how his trip back had gone. His mom was doing really well. She had a project in the works that she was thrilled about. As a result, Cove was going to be sticking around in Sunset Bird for the time being. Things were settled as much as they could ever be. With Cove back once more, you felt at ease. Cove stretched his arms out over his head, his eyes on the window and the world beyond. The sun had set while you were busy reuniting.
Well,
I should probably get my stuff and see Dad. He glanced over to you with a familiar, expectant look. Want to come with me? You know I do. No, but I'll walk you downstairs. Sure, I can go over for a little while. You know I do.
cool.
Alright, let's see Daddy Holden. Let's see Daddy Cliff. Let's see how much he's matured. Cove began to head to your bedroom door. You followed after him. You stood on a piggyback ride. Carry me, boy! It was a special occasion. It was just a normal thing in a relationship. It was just a normal thing. Cove, he paused, turning to face you. I'm not planning on walking there. Cove shook his head, the smile on his face implying that it was you and your senses he was questioning, not the request. He'd come to expect the latter, even if he didn't get why it had such appeal for you.
Alright.
He crouched low so he could hop on his back. Cove had many inches on you in height, so getting on his back for rides had been a challenge over the years. Cove straightened up with poise, accustomed to the bouncing someone over his shoulders. Cove carried you down the stairs. You had to duck down a couple times, the ceiling grazing against your elevator head. Still, you safely reached the ground floor to your house. The door's gonna be in the way. Get off here so I can open it up. He bent down to let you slide safely off his back. Seeing things from your usual height was disorienting after getting accustomed to looking down at everything. And all the excitement of Cove's return, you hadn't even remembered the gift you prepared for her when he got back. It would be best to give it to him now, before you left your house. Can you wait here for a little while? I got something for you. Cove's eyes widened as he tried to conceal a smile. He toyed with the collar of his top.
Really?
I mean, you didn't have to do that. He nodded with some eagerness, trying to imagine how to react when he saw it. You bought Cove something special. The gift you chosen that's something you could buy. This one! It was the orange shell he'd been entranced with since you were kids, a white poppy from the hill behind your house. The poppy! You hurried back to your room to collect the gift. Your fingers shook as you picked it up, beads of water rolling off the stem and back into the vase. The poppies had bloomed onto the hills a little while back, but Cove hadn't been around to see them. He inspected the flower for any flaw, any color seeping into the white petals, but it was as pristine as white as when you picked it. Whether that was luck or any of the number of tricks you'd read to keep flowers fresh for as long as possible, you didn't know, but you were glad all the same. Ah, sentimental gifts are the best gifts to give. You cautiously brought it downstairs, making sure it didn't get too jostled on the trip back. His eyes were already on you and what you were holding. By the time you got off the last step, there was no hiding it, so you silently held it out to Cove.
That's...
Your favorite flower. I know, I wanted to make sure you had one this summer since you weren't around as much. His blue irises quivered as he reached out to accept the tiny poppy. His next words were a whisper. You got me my favorite flower. Aww, he loves it. Cove smiled through his lips, trembled as if he was holding back tears. Cove inadvertently laid the gift safely on the counter, but he didn't turn back to face you once he had ensured it was secure. Though his face was angled away from you, you caught his eyelashes fluttering as if batting away tears. His throat bobbed as he swallowed bubbling emotions. You knew that Cove could be sentimental. The gift, and all the memories and feelings tied up into it, seemed to have taken a toll on him. When he began to sniffle, you felt the need to reach out. Cove? I can't... Yui, I don't know what to do. He forcibly scrubbed at his eyes like he was trying to push the tears that threatened to spill back in. Oh, Cove, it's okay. Do you need to cry? No. Nevertheless, tears had begun to spill down his cheeks. Even as he wiped them away, more took their place. I love him so much. He's such a crybaby, but at least he's in tune with his emotions. Thank you. His voice quivered as he spoke. Cove scooped you into a hug, pressing you so tightly against his chest that your breath escaped into a short squeak. He buried his face into your neck, his shed tears damp on your skin. You hugged him back. You're welcome, don't worry about it. You're such a crybaby. You didn't need words as you quietly accepted his appreciation. You're such a crybaby. Cove let out a steady breath. It was far removed from the shaky gasp that he had accompanied his sniffles. His tears had dried. His eyes were a little red, but open at peace once again. He smiled, fully recovered from the emotion that had overcome him. You're really seriously too nice to me. He smiled back. I don't think there's such a thing as too nice when it comes to you. Cove brushed his hand against the pale ghost of a scar on his arm. He was at a loss for what to do now. The clock ticked away, counting the seconds of silence. Once you had a chance to settle your thoughts, you figured you'd tell Cove the intriguing news. I meant to tell you earlier, I saw Shiloh today.
Huh?
Shiloh? Cove repeated the name, his expression blank. From when we were kids. Cove pondered for a moment, then snapped his fingers. Oh, he was the freckly boy from that first summer, right? The one who moved? I met a guy named Shiloh. He looked just like the Shiloh we knew, plus however many years. But he didn't remember me and just left. Cove frowned. That's, I don't know. Too bad I missed it. Though you knew him better than I did. That was definitely true. Not only had Cove known Shiloh for a shorter period of time, but he and Shiloh had never gotten quite along. Not that they were enemies either, just kids who were only ever together because other people they both knew. I wonder what Shiloh's up to these days. I don't have any idea. He didn't say much. Oh well. That was everything he had on their news item, so he moved on to the next big update. Also, you know the big, mean neighbors? The ones who would always yell at us? He cringed, recalling those particular memories of back in the day was not pleasant even for someone as nostalgic as him. Yeah? They're not coming. They didn't rent the condo this summer. Cove's jaw dropped. He didn't blame him. The elderly couple had been in an institution for as back as he could remember, long predating Cove's arrival. Even now, as a teenager, he found your neck pricking as you walked back by their condo, half expecting a scolding for breathing the wrong way in the vicinity of their vacation home. It was strange to think that it was coming to an end. Wow. Cove blinked, clearly struggling with the idea in the same way you had. I didn't see that coming. People being gone, people coming back. It feels like I've missed a lot. This has been a busy summer already. Well, I haven't missed the fireflies. They haven't showed up yet. Well, that's something. And we better not get left behind. There's still stuff to do. You nodded. As soon as you left your house, Cove bent down to let you climb back onto his back for the last part of the journey. It seemed that no sooner that the night began that it was already at an end, and the dawn of a new day was soon upon you. The next morning, your belly was full of breakfast, and you were in a pleasant mood. You hoped the rest of the day followed suit. Later, you were meeting up with your friends, Cove, Miranda, and Terry, to go into town. It was all on short notice, but that was because everyone was just so excited that Cove was finally back home. Having a nice daydream? You blinked, pushing all your thoughts away and returning to reality. Your mom was watching you with a teasing smile.
Alright.
So what's on the agenda today? I'm meeting up with some people. Well, I hope you and your friends have fun. Don't get into too much trouble. I'll try.
That'd be great.
But before you go gallivanting around the town, could you bring the mail in? I'm finishing up putting the dishes away over there. Alright. Thanks very much. Oh, Daddy Cliff! Oh! Daddy Cliff! I'm about to bust! Oh! Listen, I know I'm trying to, romance Cove, but Daddy Cliff, man, I am looking disrespectfully. As soon as you were outside your front door, you couldn't help but see Cove and his dad standing around in the road. They noticed you too.
Hey.
Hey there, Yui. Hi, good timing. You should come join us. You waved at him, you hugged him, you gave him a high five, you gave him a nuggie, ruffled his hair. You hugged him. Following your leave, Cove hugged you back and he held on for a few seconds longer after you let go. His eyes shone brightly at you when you did part, sending your heart aflutter. And then as Cove's cheeks flushed, you couldn't quite meet your gaze. He didn't speak, but he felt that if he did, he wouldn't be tripping over his own tongue. Aww. I ship it. Even though it's literally just me and him, it's literally an OTP and I ship it. You noticed Mr. Holden was taking in the scene of you and Cove with a self-satisfied smile. Cove followed your line of sight and shot his dad an unimpressed look. For a moment, Mr. Holden seemed like he had a thought of dancing on the tip of his tongue, but he decided to keep it to himself.
So.
What are you up to today? As far as I know, nothing too much. Me and Cove are meeting some friends in town later. Sounds like a plan to me. Yawning, Mr. Holden stretched his arms over his head. My boy and I have just been waiting around to see what the new neighbors were like. It was definitely his idea. I don't know how you're not interested in this. It's big news. Besides, it'd only be polite to greet the new folks in town. Maybe it'll be a single dad and a son. You've been here too long, seeing a new person rent a condo is what you consider an exciting development. Yet sometimes you see newcomers, your response is just a shrug. I don't want to meet them. Well, anyone has to be better than the last tenants. Maybe it'll be a single dad and a son. Cove snorted some airy laughter at the suggestion.
Oh?
You think we'll have some competition? For several moments, Mr. Holden was unable to answer. He was still chuckling when he put his hands on his hips to try to compose himself.
Nah.
Absolutely not. We're the #1 father-son duo in this town, and no one's challenging that. Damn right you are! Mr. Holden took one more glance at the currently vacant building and sighed dramatically. When he turned back to you and Cove, his whole body seemed deflated. There's no sign of them, and I still need to head over to work soon. Cove gave his dad a few reassuring pats on the back. Okay, I promise to keep an eye out. I can text you if anything happens. Really?
Of course.
Well, I mean, I only until I have to meet up with Terry and Miranda. Will that still work? With a wide grin breaking out on his face, Mr. Holden looked absolutely thrilled to have his noisiness enabled. That works! He moved to firmly place both hands over Cove's shoulders, fixing his child with a firm stare. Son, you're my true ally in this world. Mr. Holden stood up straighter, letting Cove go. He looked reinvigorated. Okay, with that settled, I'll go make some money. That's what's always been one thing I do best. Mr. Holden headed off into the garage with a big wave goodbye. Cove smiled the whole time. You both watched his dad leave. You really liked Mr. Holden. Mr. Holden's one of your favorite people. Cove's dad was kind of a bother. You had mixed feelings with Mr. Holden. You really liked Mr. Holden. You had for a long time. As soon as he was out of sight, Cove sighed lightly. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Just not looking forward to waiting. Guess I'll be hanging around the street a while. Good luck. I'll see you later. Bye. I'll stick around to see the new neighbor. I can wait with you. Why don't I stay to see neighbors and keep you company? I can wait with you. You wouldn't abandon Cove there to wither on the road out of boredom. Really? Of course. I like keeping you company, remember? He stared at you for a moment, smiling softly and thinking about his response.
Me too.
I like that too. Cove put his hands on your shoulders, gripping you solidly but not enough to hurt. His eyes fixated on you just as firmly. He was serious. You're my true ally in this world. Aww. Thank you, Cove. That got a fair amount of chuckles from you. You grinned, the stoicism fading into amusement.
Thank you.
You're always good to me. You're lucky to have me. It's no problem. I can't help myself. You laughed. You shook your head. You simply shrugged. I can't help myself. Yeah, well, good then. I don't know what I'd do without you. The smile on his face reached his eyes, and it made you feel electric. And then he let go of you. Cove stepped back to his front push steps, lazily taking a seat and leaning back on his arms. Our watch begins. Nodding in agreement, you joined Cove on the front porch steps. You both sat there in an uncomfortable familiarity as he settled in for the waiting game on the new tenants. The neighborhood was quiet, and you sighed contentedly, closing your eyes and feeling the light breeze. Eventually, you both perked up at the sound of a car. A taxi followed the noise, turning onto your street. Watch it be Kyra. Cove's eyebrows raised at the sight. He sat up straight on the stoop.
Oh?
This has to be them, right? Yeah, it's gotta be. Now that they were here, you couldn't help but feel just a bit curious. You wondered what kind of person would be living in the neighborhood for the summer. The taxi pulled to a stop as he expected in front of the now empty condo. It was on the same side of the street as your house, a few buildings further up. Without getting to his feet, Cove tried leaning and tilting his head to get a view of the passenger doors open. The single occupant exited the cab. Huh? You could feel what Cove was in that moment. After the last renters, this new visitor was definitely not exactly what you expected. Oh no! Hello, handsome! Okay, listen. Chat, are you listening? Are you listening, chat? Listen. I know we're romancing Cove, but I'm allowed to look elsewhere. I don't know who you are, but you sir are handsome. No, watch that be fucking Jeremy. If that's Jeremy, I'm gonna fucking die. It was a young man. Had to be close to your own age. He was dressed fully in an electric black and white and gray outfit. Even his side-swooping hair matched the scheme. The only other pop of color was from something that couldn't easily be fashioned into submission. A pair of dark brown eyes, which you caught when he looked over at his audience. Hello, folks. Who might you be? We're the neighbors. The smile already prominent on his face curled further. It was cocky, but you didn't get the impression it meant something adverse. Hallelujah! You and Cove shared a familiar look with one another, bewildered even further. The color-coordinated man left it there. However, and with a firm click, he shut the door on his ride, then he turned his back to you to retrieve a large, unsurprisingly black suitcase out of the trunk. Continuing on with his own business, he strolled forward and lightly tapped on the driver's side window with his knuckles, asking for him to roll it down. When it opened, he leaned down and rested his arm on the edge. You assumed he was thanking the driver for getting in there, considering he slipped them a tip during the brief chat. They both shook hands and then he pushed himself up and away from the taxi with both arms, giving the driver room to leave. The taxi pulled away, rolling carefully down the road and out of sight. Around a corner, the new renter had officially arrived. He left his suitcase on the ground, out of the way off the street, and sauntered over your way with the confidence of someone who had been invited to join. Cove finally stood up to greet this person, and he followed suit. Okay, Cove is taller than him, so I like Cove better because I like taller guys.
Excellent.
I'm Baxter Ward. It's excellent to meet you, neighbors. Oh, okay, so he's not Jeremy. His name's Baxter. Nice to meet you, Baxter. You're standing on the side he was approaching from. When Baxter got close enough, he offered his hand to you first. You shook it. You offered to low-five him. You held out your arm to offer a hug instead. You kept your distance. You shook it. Baxter gripped her hand firmly to give a satisfying shake. Hi, Baxter. I'm Yui. Hey, Yui. I'm quite keen on getting to know you better this summer. We could be good friends. From your other side, Cove made a sudden sputtering noise. And you are? He lifted his hand over to Cove next. Cove shook his hand, still eyeing Baxter carefully. Oh, damn. Baxter's trying to steal me from Cove. Ooh. I'm Cove. Cove's whole demeanor lit up for unknown reasons. His eyes shone as he studied Cove a moment.
Really?
No, wait. Is that your actual nickname or your real name? It's just my name. Cove spoke mildly, having given all the explanation many times in the past, but clearly charmed Baxter all the same. He tossed his hand to one side with a laugh. Your parents knew exactly what they were doing. I can't imagine a more fitting name for the face I'm seeing. Cove. That's gorgeous. Is this guy gay or bi? I'm still into him either way, but still. It's really not. No, I agree, it suits you. Hey, only I get to fluster him. That's a lot considering you're talking to a stranger, Baxter. You didn't know what to say. Hey, only I get to fluster him. Oh, I'm sorry, did I do that? It wasn't my intention. Baxter grinned unwelcomingly. The entire conversation brought a burning red blush to Cove's face, and he couldn't make eye contact with either of you. You noticed that Baxter looked apologetic over Cove's increased discomfort. I'm sorry, it wasn't intended to mean more than it did. I like your name, but you don't have to mind that. I'm patently against stepping on anyone's toes. He chuckled to himself. It seemed like there was some extra meaning hidden there in the words, and he noticed the Cove raised an eyebrow, picking up on that too. Baxter didn't even open his eyes to see her faces, and to know he had some filling to do. He stood up straighter, striking up a slight pose with the position on his feet. I'm a ballroom dancer, hence the phrasing. Oh, I don't know much about dancing, but that's pretty cool. It's not hard once you get the basics down. Cove didn't look convinced at all. Baxter took that as a cue to keep talking.
Well.
You grinned in a way that was rapidly becoming familiar to you. If either of you are ever looking for a partner, I'm available. Okay, yeah, he's bi. He is bisexual. That is a bisexual man right there. Cove frowned at the overt forwardness. Thanks. I pass, I think. I'll take you up on that offer sometime. I'd rather not. I could probably show you some news myself. You didn't answer the question. I'll take you up on that offer sometime. I look forward to that then. After that, there was a lull in conversation and Cove attempted to fill it.
So...
What made you decide on Sunset Bird? Oh yes, well my parents rented a condo, so I had a place to stay while I'm off for a semester from college and not living in the dorms. Ideally, they wanted to send me somewhere that wasn't too exciting, but lucky for me, they picked the wrong street, considering the two of you live here. Cove was practically railing over how Baxter found a way to fit comments like that into every single topic thus far. Why do you keep doing that? You don't know us, but you talk like you already do. Cove spoke, firm yet genuinely confused, and yet Baxter smiled cautiously. I don't feel the need to keep the words of praise to myself, and when I say something, I mean it.
See?
Plus, that's the point of spending off semester alone. The best part of being somewhere new is getting to interact with new people. Am I honestly the first person who's acknowledged you're attractive and intriguing people? True, you're hidden away in the tiny tourist trap, but still. No, I've acknowledged many times that Cove is attractive. Baxter crossed his arms. After studying your face a few more seconds, he decided to continue. Am I the only one trying to score a hookup or to get a romantic fling started by saying those things? No, that isn't the point of speaking of others. I was raised better than that. Though, would I be just if that's what my words led to? Also no. I am flexible, not a surprise, I can back off with the lines if you don't like the attention, but I'd like to be friends if we can. Cove wasn't sure how to respond. He glanced at you, and he continued to look at your face when he spoke. Thanks for answering, but I'm not interested in any part of that with you. Maybe not the friend thing, but the other part. Doesn't bother me. I'd appreciate if you didn't do that with me. I'm finding it pretty entertaining. You probably annoy a lot of people. You stood there and tried to react. I'm finding it pretty entertaining. Baxter laughed at that. Glad we're working things out. Shifting his weight onto his other foot, Baxter tried to move forward. So since you were both already out here, did my arrival interrupt anything? Definitely not. He smiled and silently agreed. He laughed in a cordial way. You looked away nervously. You told Baxter that you were both waiting to see who was going to move in. He smiled and silently agreed. If Cove wasn't going to say anything, neither were you. Baxter didn't need to know how much of a day was spent waiting to see who was moving in. Baxter watched you both carefully for a hint of what was going on, but decided not to pry any further. Well, if either of you are free, I'd be thrilled to hang out this summer, but we can save the scheduled talk for later. I should get my things inside. He gave a small nod of the head and flashed you both a dazzling smile.
Goodbye.
For today. Bye. Cove gave a small wave as well. Bye, Baxter. See you. Baxter then turned on his heels and strolled back into his suitcase, picking it up and bringing it to his condo. You and Cove were silent as Baxter unlocked the door and disappeared inside the house. With him completely out of the scene, Cove let out a long breath. I don't know how I'm gonna explain that guy to my dad. He burst into a fit of laughter, trying to imagine the conversation. So, you like it when people say that sort of stuff about people. It's okay to do it? Never mind. At least the job is done. We saw a new neighbor, and now we can go meet up with Terry and Miranda. Yeah, we should get going. You gave Baxter's condo one last glance over your shoulder. You're looking forward to seeing him more. You thought he was charming. You were not interested in him. You weren't sure how to feel. You thought he gave a pretty bad first impression. You decided he definitely wasn't someone you liked. You thought he was charming. You weren't really sure when, but at some point Baxter won you over. You were curious to get to know him better. Okay, I hope that didn't fuck up with me and Cove. Laughing quietly, you wondered how Baxter fit in with the rest of the neighborhood. Turning your attention back to Cove, you pushed all the thoughts at Baxter's side. You both started making your way towards town. A little while later, you and Cove reached a main street in town. All of a sudden, you stopped walking. What's wrong? I think I heard my phone. You dug your cell phone out and looked at it with a satisfied grin. There's a new message. You opened the new text from Miranda and all you saw was, I can see you. Immediately from where you stood, you started swiveling your head around. You couldn't spot Miranda anywhere, but she did send you more messages. I see you looking. Where are you? Ha, come on. Really, Randy? Come on. The message was sent, and you were back to looking around, scanning for any signs of movement in the familiar faces, but they were still invisible. Cove looked at you carefully, raising an eyebrow. Miranda, come on out! You cited the ridiculousness. You burst into laughter at her antics. You sent her your own joking text. If you want to keep hiding, Cove and I can go do our own stuff without you, is what you decided on. You smirked, hitting send on the message. Cove looked at you curious, raising an eyebrow. What's happening? Before you could even begin explaining anything to Cove, you both snapped your attention to the yelling across the street. And Derry saw Miranda and Terry coming out from behind the backside wall of the grocery store. They both started waving wildly to draw even more attention to themselves. Cove took a step in their direction, grinning. He put his hands around his mouth to better project his message across the street. Hey! Laughing in arm in arm, the girls stopped only to look both ways and then rushed across the empty street.
Hi.
I hope you weren't waiting too long. Oh, she's so cute! I love her! Oh, she's short and she's chubby and she's got the little freckles. Oh, I love her. She's so precious.
Hey, buddies.
Oh, I love her too. She's tall. Literally the opposites of each other. Like she's short and chubby, and she's tall and skinny. I love them. They're so cute. Hi. Hi. That joke was not funny. I'm amazed. How'd you appear out of nowhere like that? And I'm so happy to see you two. I thought you both knew better than to jaywalk. Wordlessly you waved. I'm amazed. How did you appear out of nowhere like that? They started giggling again. Terry glanced at Miranda, wondering what their story should be.
Ooh.
It was magic. And magicians never reveal their secrets. Ooh. That's fair. Terry then closed the distance between her and Cove and crushed him in a painfully tight hug. You're finally here. It's been so long. What took you? He did his best to eke out of a reply with his chest being compressed.
Sorry.
Eventually, she let him go. Terry looked at him with a beaming smile, but Cove was distracted, rubbing his arms. Welcome back. Thanks. It finally felt official. Everyone was together in one place. From here, you weren't sure how often you would have another afternoon like this again. They didn't either.
So?
Cove? Terry poked Cove square in his chest. You're gonna have to get me your schedule by this time yesterday.
No way.
Not really possible, Terry, but I can say as soon as I know. So far, work hasn't said anything, but I can tell you I'm busy with Orca activities. When Cove wasn't at this part-time job, or pursuing his athletic and academic interests, he volunteered for the Ocean Restoration California affiliation, Orca. The group focused on cleaning up beaches and removing pollution from the ocean. Cove always loved the sea. It didn't surprise you one bit when he started getting involved with them. It was Cove's activity. You joined Orca too after learning of it. You were an Orca member and introduced Cove to it. It was Cove's activity. Your big smash event for the year is coming right up, isn't it? Yeah, there's not that much more to do before then, but I'm kind of looking forward to the fundraising push. You nodded, wondering how the event would turn out this year. I know you can do it. Even if it goes really bad, it'll still look good on a college application at least. That's true.
Hey.
Guess what else? We don't have to stand around here to say stuff. Let's go. I would like a meal now. Perking up, Cove nodded in agreement. Yeah, for sure. The four of you headed into town, happily chatting in the whole way. The only decision left to make was where exactly to stop and eat. The rest of the afternoon and evening passed by in a blink of an eye. When night fell, it was time to head home, and you parted ways with Miranda and Terry. You and Cove reached your neighborhood without event. It was late enough that your out-of-the-way street was dark and silent. You were walking tiredly after such a long day. You strolled with a skip in your step. You ambled along. Cove was giving you a piggyback ride home. Carry me, Cove! It was a long day out and about. You appreciated that you could rely on him, to make things more comfortable for you. You tightened your grip on Cove and turned your head ever so slightly, peering at his face out of the corner of your eyes. You wondered why he felt so distant to you. It was out of character. For a while, Cove silently stared ahead and left you alone with your own thoughts. It wouldn't surprise you when you did hear his voice all of a sudden. He still wouldn't look at you. It feels weird coming back to the neighborhood and trying to get into things like they're the same, and they're not. They've changed, and they're still changing. Your mouth felt uncomfortably dry all of a sudden. It was true. The things that kept the people you knew together were starting to disappear. Each person had to make their own priorities and their own path now that it wasn't set for them. You thought about your own immediate future. If you had to choose in the very moment, you wanted to go to school full-time, to go to school part-time, to work full-time, to work part-time, focus on time that's not school or work. This one. And that was the basics. For yourself, you wanted to work on self-improvement on your own. Take some time to just relax. Try to figure out what you truly want. Work on self-improvement on your own. Take some time to relax. Try to figure out what you truly want. And that was all. And for that, you wanted to stay local. It'll all be happening so soon. You started to prepare for what was coming. You hadn't begun to do anything about that yet. You've been open about your situation, and everyone knew. You'd only spoken about this with family and those you were close to, like Cove. You kept this all to yourself, and Cove was the only person you knew. Now you wondered what Cove had in mind. You heard him consider some things for his future, but it was never anything that would have counted as a real plan. Cove stopped in the middle of the street. He stopped and put you down. You're both outside of your houses. Cove looked at the ground for a moment. His mouth trembled, trying to settle on the right words to say. So, are you still thinking about what you want to do and stuff in Sunset Bird? Yeah. Cove closed his eyes and nodded while he composed his thoughts. He looked at you when he lifted his head. I decided on something. Well, kind of. He smiled slightly and rubbed his arm, and then the expression grew more serious. I swear to God, if he's moving, I'm ending this game. I'm not going to decide on a school or a career, not this summer. I'm going to stay here, at least in Sunset Bird. I'll probably move out of my dad's place. Okay, well, at least he's still in Sunset Bird, so I'll take that. I'll keep working my job, keep doing my volunteer stuff and everything else.
I don't know.
Maybe I'll know what I want for myself by fall or next year, or maybe I'll never have a plan. Life will continue on with whatever's happening. I'm not going to crush myself trying to have everything figured out by a timeline that someone else has set. I just can't do it. His brow furrowed, and his tone was tense. It was clear how much expectations were weighing on him.
I guess
it'll be me and you, right here for a while longer. Yes! His eyes were glossy. You weren't going to be separated, and that meant a great deal to him. Your plan sounds very you nodded understandingly. You're glad that the two of you would be in Sunset Bird. Somehow, I'm not surprised that things turned out like this. You weren't sure how to react. This one. Elated, you smiled. Cove looked relieved that you were happy with this turn of events. I'll see you tomorrow, Yui. I'll see you. Night. He pulled you into an unexpected hug and knocked the breath out of you, yet you couldn't have been more reassuring feeling. You returned his embrace and stayed that way for as long as you could.
Good night.
He finally let go, giving you another smile. Then Cove started walking away, but you remained there, frozen in the middle of the street. You watched him and wondered, how many more times will we be able to say that he'll see you tomorrow? You hoped for countless more times. Finally, you turned towards your own house. You vowed to yourself that you would make the most out of every moment you had this summer. Alright, and we're finally getting to it. We're gonna start with hang. You grabbed a large beach towel from off your bed and stuffed it into a bag. You had already packed your water bottle of your upcoming beach and hangout session. You were hoping that this would be a fun time together. Oh, shit, Cove! Give me a second. I need to... I'm about to burst. Something fell. It's okay, it was a water bottle. Not mine, but an empty one. Cove sat on your windowsill and kicked one of his legs into the air idly. He already had a swimsuit on, and his towel was bundled under his arm in a misshapen ball. You'd shown up earlier that morning with a surprising amount of enthusiasm. He was chatting as he caught up to his preparation. But seriously, I couldn't find my swimsuit this morning. I looked everywhere, and it disappeared. I had no idea what I was gonna do. You Could have gotten a new one somewhere. What happened to all your other swimsuits? You don't have to wear a swimsuit to be on a beach. Yeah, completely vanished somehow, just like your old sand pail. He stayed quiet. What happened to all your other swimsuits? I know that's not your only one. Cove looked away and shrugged. I might have some laundry to do. Anyways, I don't know why it was in the bathroom when I've never put it in there. He gave a small smile and readjusted the towel in his arms. He now could see that it had been folded at some point, but then rolled up and carried without much care.
I'm so glad.
But I'm just glad I found it. It wouldn't have been crappy to lose my favorite trunks. It was nice to see Cove so happy and comfortable in what he was wearing. He walked over to your dresser and mused about how you had picked out your own swimsuit. Your height had complicated your swimsuit shopping. Not many swimsuits were well-fitting on someone who's petite. And then for the shape of your body. You're heavyset, you're chubby, you had curves, you're generally medium, you're slender, you were scrawny. Chubby. And you had noticeable muscles, you had muscles, your body was soft, your body was delicate. Body was delicate. There's a fragility to your build. You have to be careful with it. You had become heavier than what you used to be when you were younger. You had grown over the years and fleshed out a little more.
Are you okay?
Oh yeah, I was just thinking about some things. What things? Just myself and my body, really. His eyebrows rose at your admission of self-reflection. And what do you think? What did you think of who you were? You considered your identity further. You always felt sure about your gender. You wondered if your gender was really something you felt right about. You always felt so sure about your gender. Being called her was right for you. And you had small boobs. Your breasts were not exactly small, but not huge either. You're well endowed. In the past, you had breasts, but had them surgically removed. Okay, so you can get breast reduction surgery, even if you're fine with being called her. Nice. Your breasts were not you had small boobs. You were notable enough to appear in your silhouette, though that was about it. You liked the size you had. You wish they were smaller and might get a reduction. You wish they were bigger and might get implants. You used a binder. You used a binder, but also considering other options. You left them as they are, but we're considering other options for him. You left them as they were. You're okay with your breasts for now, but so not okay with them that potential changes weren't on your mind. Besides that, you went through hormone therapy. Besides that, you were currently going through hormone therapy. That's hormone therapy is something you were thinking of. That was all. People had a lot of their identity wrapped around into your physical form. It shaped their self-image. You were confident in yours. You were comfortable in yours. You weren't really content with yours. You hated your body. You knew you had gender dysphoria. I hate my body. You could not stand it. Every time you looked in the mirror, you could just hear a litany of wrong, wrong, wrong. You had pretty much always been unhappy with your body. Even when you were younger, it felt off, and that still hadn't changed. You didn't feel like who you wanted to be. He focused on Cove again. He smiled at you and tilted his head, a question still in his eyes. He was waiting for you to come to an answer. Before you could, you had something to say to him. What do you think about me? You like the way I look, right? What if I told you I wanted to get surgery? What do you think about me? About how I look, I mean. Cove frowned, his eyebrows furrowed in concern, as if he were trying to find the best words to say. Then his eyes warmed like he was looking at something truly special. You are wonderful. No matter what anybody thinks, you, me, anyone, you're still wonderful. It just can't be helped. It's a fact of life. Cove stopped speaking and looked at you for a moment. He kicked his feet as he considered something, and then nodded with a thoughtful expression on his face. He stared forward and directly met your eyes. I've known you for a long time, since we were kids, you know. I've seen you just about every day for the past decade, so I think it's fair to me to say this.
It's nice.
Each day you're different from before, just little by little, but you're also still the same person. You're always you. It's nice to see you keep developing as a person. I do want you to keep being you, but the only one who gets to decide who that is you. You choose who you are today. You get to choose who you are tomorrow. That's okay with me. Smooth. Thank you. He smiled with tears. It's the same with you. You didn't know how to react to that. Tears. Moisture started gathering in your eyes, so you began to blink rapidly. You couldn't help stop the tears from coming even as you smiled so widely your cheeks hurt. What could you even say to that? Cove seemed a little concerned by your tears, but he smiled back.
Hey.
Cove gave a bent smile, pointing to your arms. You're looking practically shapely today. He answered not with words, but a solid okay sign, with both hands and the same cheeky smile. Cove suddenly flushed when he realized how boldly he complimented you. He stood by it, even if he was a little red. He's so fucking precious. I love him. And he's so smooth. Why am I not with him already? Oh, wait, because I rejected that he would be my boyfriend. Listen, I know it's stupid to say, oh, you're not my boyfriend yet, but I want to see the moment where he confesses to me, okay? I know he's going to confess to me, or I confess to him. I want a confession scene. You're a little taken aback. That came out of nowhere. You glance at yourself. You like that? Yeah. You start to flex and show off jokingly. You flirtatiously stretch. You stood there stunned. You're so sweet and fantastic. You have some very good arms yourself. You hugged him. You flirtatiously stretched. You fluttered your eyelashes and slowly stretched your arms out in front of you towards him. Your sleeves fell down, but instead of fixing it, you left it stay that way. You looked Cove straight in the eye as you openly displayed your arms. Cove turned bright red and jumped to his feet. His towel dropped to the ground as he practically flew over to you. He looked at your arms and then tried to gently nudge them back down. Yeah, you can stop now. Really. I got him. He laughed nervously and flailed a little. You took pity on him and stopped displaying yourself. You'd gotten the reaction you wanted. He retreated back to sitting on the windowsill and retrieved his towel, head held low to try hiding his expression. Finally, he felt that was enough of that topic for one day. You went back to your original goal before you got sidetracked. You needed to pick what you wanted to wear to the beach. You chose to wear casual clothes instead. You picked a one-piece swimsuit. You decided to wear a two-piece bikini. You chose a two-piece tankini. You wanted to wear your wetsuit. You wanted to wear swim trunks at the top. You decided to wear a Speedo at the top. Two-piece bikini. While you dug around in your drawers, you tried to think if there was anything else you were missing. You took sunglasses. He was tapping his toes on the side of the wall as he waited. You vaguely wondered if he thought this was a comfortable place to sit. You hoped so, given how long he perched on it. Regardless, it was time for him to go. You weren't going to put on your beachwear with him just chilling there. Well, I'm gonna chance. How about you wait outside? Cove nodded reassuringly. Alright. Cove lowered himself off the window and strolled past you to get to the door. He lightly brushed his fingertips against your cheek when he passed by.
Bye.
I'll see you out front. Okay. When you were alone, you got undressed and put on your swimwear on. You also checked your beach bag for the final time, and it seemed like you hadn't forgotten anything. You left your room and hurried down the stairs, ready to meet Cove. You made sure to lock your front door and walked outside. Cove stood in the road, looking down and scuffing his feet on the asphalt. When you shut your heavy door, he looked up at you and smiled. Hey. Hi, Marin and Terry are going to be here in not too long. Terry even texted me earlier saying she was mostly on schedule.
Well,
why don't we just head to the beach and wait for them there? We're both ready. It sounded like a good idea to you. You said as much, and Cove shot off a quick text telling the two of them where you'd be. Cove gave you a thumbs up after the messages sent. It was a familiar path to walk, and it wasn't long until you reached the shore. Cove laid out his towel on the warm sand. You set up your stuff beside him and looked out into the ocean. The rolling swells hit the shore rhythmically. You all had lucked out. It was a beautiful day. The sky was clear and the waves were good. It was a balmy summer day, but with a pleasant breeze to keep things comfortable. Essentially, it was perfect.
so?
Do you feel like heading into the water? Maybe just walk down the shore? Or would you want to do something here? Water sounds good. Taking a shore stroll would be fun. I don't mind getting my feet in the water. You plan to just get some sun? Either way is fun. What would you want to do? Stroll. You wiggled your toes in response to the comment and looked off into the shoreline. Cove nodded. Accepting the plan, he kicked some sand off his towel absentmindedly. Yeah, sounds nice. You took a deep breath and tasted the relaxing, salty air. Cove caught your eye and gave you a small smile. You chatted a little bit before a comfortable quiet settled over the two of you, content to watch the waves as you waited for the others. Luckily, it didn't take long until you heard shouts. You turned your head to see both Miranda and Terry running straight for you. Miranda was faster, making leaps and bounds across the sand. Terry followed in her wake, laughing with her towel clutched around her shoulders and falling like a cape. Miranda started making her jumps more theatric and more precarious. As she got closer, Cove waved them off with a big grin. You shouted a greeting, you cheered at their antics, you waved to, you laughed, you shook your head, you hoped they wouldn't fall. You cheered at their antics. Woo! Oh, look at her swimsuit! Ah, her swimsuit's so cute! It's so colorful and cute. Oh, it's so adorable! And also your wetsuit's so cute, but look at Miranda, I love her. Hey Terry and Miranda, welcome to our beach.
Hey!
Hello, hello. She beamed and Miranda nodded with a smile.
Oh, yeah.
I'm so pumped. Yeah, I'm really glad this worked out. What have you guys been up to over in your town? Cove? Yui? Have you missed things? Cove blinked and then shrugged, and when nothing he wanted to mention came to mind. You shrugged like Cove, you gave a vague answer, you gave a recap over how your family was doing. What have you been up to? Your moms were the same as ever for the most part, although they were definitely still adjusting to you being an adult now. Liz had asked you to take pictures of her latest makeup look the other day. There's nothing too dramatic going on right now. Terry nodded along and mentioned a couple things about her own parents. Miranda brought up her family and shared some of the wild things her older brother had done. Terry then started talking about her morning and how she almost overslept since she had stayed up too late last night. She bounced on her feet as she spoke. But don't worry about me being tired today. You know I ran on less back during school. Miranda filled in the group about her morning. Apparently, everything had gone smoothly. She met up with Terry on the way here, and he knew the rest. Cove offered a suggestion to the girls. Hey, let's walk while we catch up.
Okay.
Oh yeah, definitely. He felt pleased that Cove remembered what he wanted to do. Sometimes he could be thoughtful like that. Once everybody's stuff was settled on the beach, your group strolled over to the shoreline. The wet sand was cool under your feet. You took another step forward and sank a little into the ground. Behind you, your footprints were soon smoothed by the waves. Your friends chatted as you walked together. You took turns pointing out cool shells or pieces of sea glass. It was a relaxing jaunt. Hours passed, and the group had moved between different activities, some low-key and some more exhaustive. For you, it was another break time. You sat on your towel and sipped at some water. Your friends were hard at work burying Terry's full body under a pile. Miranda used her arms to force up sand around Terry's sides. Cove worked on covering Terry's feet. You took another drink and closed your eyes. Eventually, a shadow passed over you, dampening the light that was still notable even behind your eyelids. You took to see Cove had joined you there. He knelt down to dig around in the pile of assorted beach stuff in the middle of everyone's towel setup and pulled out the sunscreen. He took a seat next to you on his towel. He opened the bottle with the soft pop and began to reapply cream. Hey. He ran his hands across his chest to work with the sunscreen in, and you might have checked him out a little from the corner of your eye while still sipping some water. Damn! Even the game's acknowledging that I'm thirsty. Shee! But then he sighed again, this time in an exaggerating, disappointed way. You wonder if he was going to sigh again, even more dramatically if he didn't say anything. What's wrong? You honestly worried. You wondered what it was? You raised an eyebrow, you chuckled. Oh, Cove, whatever it is, I'm sure it's gonna be okay, you joked. This one. After all, this is an excellent place to hide a body. He gestured to Terry, who was practically just a hill of sand with a human head at this point. That got a quick chuckle out of him, but he quickly hid his amusement. Cove shook his head comically disappointed. His frown didn't match the sparkle in his eyes.
Don't worry about it.
I'm just becoming another jaded adult, that's all. Now you were really confused. You waited for him to continue, and his next sigh did not disappoint. It was the most ridiculously sad sigh you had ever heard. Then he smiled a little. Mermaids aren't real. What? That had not been what you were expecting. He continued. You know how much I liked mermaids as a kid? Well, merfolk as a whole, I really hoped that they were out there. I mean, the ocean's a big place, right? They could be somewhere. But the older I got, the more I had to accept it. They were just a fairy tale. He jerked his head over to the waterline and rolling waves. And they crashed against the shore and then drew back. This is a perfect beach for them. It's pretty and vast and never too crowded. If merfolk did exist, we definitely would have met one by now. Or at least we would have heard of someone else seeing one, but nothing. He acted as though the result was a true bafflement. He let his head hang. I gotta let the dream go. He burst into laughter. That's hardly proof. It's not like this is the only beach in the world. You pretend to be shocked and disappointed. You shook your head. Wow, good for you with that realization. You pretend to be shocked and disappointed. What? Mermaids aren't real? You looked at him and tried to get fake tears to start welling up in your eyes. I can't believe it. Cove chuckled a little to himself, eyes tilted off into the sea, his face still low. Maybe it's for the best. Let's say a merperson did happen to wash up on shore one day. He looked at you with a faux, doleful expression. I could have lost my best friend to their magical underwater world. Oh yeah, I'd totally go live underwater to the sea with the merfolk. Even if I had the chance, I'd stay on shore with you. I'd go with the merperson, but only if you come with us too. Cove grinned. He hadn't expected that answer. You're a nice person, Yui, but what if they didn't want me? Would you seriously stay on land? You gave him a look. You meant what you had said. It'd only work if the offer was for both of you. Are you sure that's the right call? If a beautiful, kind merperson falls for somebody, I'm pretty positive that the sensible response isn't to turn around and say, no thanks, I'm gonna stay on land with a normal guy. Are you warning me that you'd leave if you get that kind of offer? Why are you so sure I'd have to make that call? Since this is all hypothetical, why not have you be the merperson? I don't want that. I should get to be a mer creature, and then I'd invite you to the underwater world. Since this is all hypothetical, why not have you be the mer person? Cove turned his face to beam at you. He brightened immediately. Now we're talking! I'd be a good merman, right? I could see it. Cove's gaze was drawn back to the water with shining eyes. He was clearly imagining some world where he was a merman who happened upon you here at this beach. He tried to picture what he could be thinking. It'd be quite a lovely story. And then you heard Miranda screech. Your attention immediately switched over to your friends. You saw that Terry had gotten impatient and shifted her legs. The walls had been meticulously building collapsed into a wet heap of sand. She surveyed the damage critically. We're gonna have to start over on that part. Do you just want to give up on this now?
No way.
The burial must continue. I'll try not to move anymore. Okay, for sure. I'll try to fix this. Miranda started to rebury her and Terry shot her a thumbs up. She realized too late that moving her arm was a bad idea. More of the sand on her crumbled and Miranda put her head in her hands. Cove caught her eye and started to drag himself up. Seems like they were needed. You agreed and followed him over to the girls. Miranda nodded at you both with appreciation, and 3 of you did your best to finish the job. You all worked out a system of using just enough wet sand to help hold the rest together. With 3 people, it didn't take long for Terry to be entombed. Terry grinned massively, and Miranda offered high fives. The pile was officially done. Oh yeah! Resembling the Kool-Aid Man, she kicked herself out of the ground with gusto. Sand went flying in all directions, and a Terry-shaped imprint was left behind. 4 of you continued to have a good time. You went on a shell hunt. Miranda managed to find the biggest, while you found the most colorful. Cove got a tiny crab. You did a bit of everything. There were impromptu games to just soaking up to each other's company. However, after a while, you all had ran out of water. Drinkable water, anyway. It was decided that you'd head to your or Cove's house. Things were gathered, and you started to cheerfully walk up the road. What next? I don't have anywhere to go, so it could be whatever. Same, I guess we can keep hanging out. Tori snored and readjusted her grip on her things. Don't sound too sure there, Cove. By this point, you could see her house. It hadn't taken you long to make the trip. The conversation continued with everyone throwing out suggestions. Are people hungry? She looked from face to face in inspection. Cove and Miranda shrugged in concern. No one was overtly opposed to it. However, you weren't really starving. It wasn't quite a mealtime. We could get dessert. Miranda put a finger in her lip and thought. With a smile, her voice became more confident. Yeah, that'd be fun. Terry considered it and then shot Miranda a thumbs up.
Sure.
Sounds great to me. I can definitely go for that. I think that's a good idea. But there's nothing sweet at my house. Your friends glanced at Cove at his place. He shook his head immediately. Dad doesn't have anything good either. I mean, unless you want dessert-flavored protein shakes. Oh, he has protein shakes. He works out. Ew, no. She cut in and held her hands up as if trying to ward off something evil. Cove smirked.
Not bad.
It's not that bad.
Nope.
Well,
There has to be some kind of sweet shop around here. Let's look it up. Terry nodded and started to dig around in her bag. I like the way you think. Terry continued to rummage in her bag and grew increasingly frustrated. She puffed out her cheeks and knelt down, setting the bag on the ground. With both hands free, she was finally able to fish out her phone. She raised it up in triumph for a brief moment of celebration.
I'm on it.
I'll search for something good. Terry got back to her feet, hefting the bag over one arm, tapping away at her screen in the other. But she assessed Cove from top to bottom. No shirt, no shoes, no service. Cove glanced down at his bare chest and feet. Having not even registered it prior, he chuckled a little. Cove moved over to his house. You looked towards yours. You decided to change as well. You wait outside with the girls. I'll change. You felt like you'd be more comfortable in something more streetwear than beachwear. You inclined your head over to the side. I'm gonna go change too.
Sure.
Go for it. We'll wait. Miranda nodded with a smile. You ran into your house. No one was home, so you just rushed to your room and dropped off your beach stuff on your bed. You threw something on over what you were wearing. You completely changed into casual clothes. Casual clothes! You stripped and found a suitable outfit to go hang out in. You slipped it on and felt satisfied with your decision. With that, you sped back outside. Cove was already there and gathered around Terry's phone with the girls. He opted to just add a shirt and shoes, apparently putting it in the minimum effort for service. Hello again.
Hey.
You don't really want ice cream, do you? You didn't have a chance to answer. You kept barreling through with her words. 'Cause I'm not into that right now.
that's cool.
Don't mind her. You look nice, by the way. Terry scrolled further and they made an interested exclamation. Oh, what about this place? They sell crepes. That's something you don't see every day. Look how fancy they are. She shoved her phone into your face. It seemed like a cute shop. It didn't show any pictures of the actual building, but the food seemed good. It was one of those places that put a lot of effort into presentation, with branded wrapping for the crepes and well-applied toppings. Fuck, now I want a crepe.
Huh.
Never heard of it. Haven't either. Mysterious, but crepes are so good. She nodded her approval as Terry admired more of the photos. I'd go. It's not too far, but we could drive. Terry cheered at the success of a plan made, and you all walked around to Cove's car. He had to run inside once more to grab his keys. You wrote "Watch me" in the dirt on his car. You waited for Cove. I wrote "Watch me" because I'm a little shit. You noticed a thin coat of sand and dust on Cove's car. You had probably been a while since he had washed it. With a smirk, you carefully wrote "Watch me" with your finger.
Very nifty.
Good work. I wonder if he's even gonna notice. The car beeped and unlocked. Cove ran up to you with his car keys in hand. His hair slipped into his face, and he brushed it back. Shotgun! She clambered into the passenger seat without hesitation. He didn't argue and climbed into the back with Miranda. Terry activated the directions on her cell phone map and acted as their navigator, directing Cove to the crepes. The GPS tried to get Cove to turn into a non-existent road once and wanted him to do a U-turn instead of just using a left turn. But Terry looking at the actual path, it went smooth enough. You were led to a small stall in a parking lot rather than a full building. That explained why there hadn't been pictures of the crepery's interior, and why it was new to you despite living in this town your entire life. It was completely a new structure that popped up recently. There was a window you could walk up to and one for cars to drive up to. Cove parked with a laugh.
Come on.
I don't think I need to put on a shirt for this one, but I still want to try it. Let's go.
What?
Do you not trust us to not eat in your car? She gestured to the drive-through option. Cove shook his head with a snort. I trust someone here, maybe, but wouldn't it be more fun to actually check it out? Everyone acknowledged his point and piled out. Terry tried to tease Cove a little, but Miranda started talking about the last time she had crepes. Apparently there had been a dessert explosion topped with multiple sauces, powdered sugar, and what Miranda was pretty sure had to be cake icing. That's sweet.
So great.
Literally, it was so good, but I regretted it so much. I couldn't finish it, and I really tried. You can do it this time, Randy. Ooh, cute! There were some good laughs. When he got up to the menu, he realized that there were more than just crepes. There were definitely crepes, many crepes. However, the stall also had a lot of different drinks as well. Teas, smoothies, milkshakes. Jackpot! She grinned and held out her fist for a fist bump. Miranda high-fived it. The two stared at the awkward, vaguely turkey-shaped hand configuration that they had made and slowly put their hands down. Cove's mouth twitched into a smile. He stepped up to order first. He glanced back up at the menu. You ordered a crepe and a drink. Hello, I'd like to get a crepe and a drink, please. There's a woman who looked a little older than you taking the order. She smiled back at you, ready to hear the specifics of your purchase. For the crepe itself, you wanted strawberry. For the filling toppings you picked, let's see, whipped cream, powdered sugar, strawberries, mixed berries, and that was all. And you picked the size you were asked that you wanted to drink. You ordered, I'm gonna get a strawberry smoothie. Could also add a mix-in or toppings for the drink. You also had whipped cream, chocolate syrup, caramel syrup, boba pearls, condensed milk. You didn't want anything extra. Whipped cream. That was all. You paid and stepped aside to let your friends order. Cove got a lemon crepe with powdered sugar on top and the mixed berries. He also got a plain strawberry smoothie. Terry went crazy with toppings, although she ordered a plain crepe. She had it smothered with whipped cream, cream cheese, chocolate chips, chocolate syrup, and bananas. Miranda opted for frappe with caramel syrup and condensed milk. Four of you stood off to the side as you waited for your treats. I heard what you ordered, Yui. Glad I'm not the only one to go for a drink and a crepe. I couldn't pick just one, and why not? Exactly, it's gonna be good. Yui, man, your crepe is gonna rock. High five for topping appreciation. She held her hand out expectantly. You gave her a high five. You left her hanging. You fist bumped her palm. I'm gonna fist bump her palm. Terry stared at your hand. She blinked. She looked between you and Miranda. Is this just a thing now? I don't know what you mean. Miranda's voice was surprisingly serious, while her face looked like she was seconds away from laughing. Terry shook her head dramatically. Order for Yui? Oh, I've got to get that. You grabbed your order. The others didn't take much time after that. With the goods collected, everyone admired their treats. Terry dug right into hers, and Miranda gave hers a tentative sip. Terry nodded receptively into her mouth completely full. Miranda tilted the frappe over to her with a grin. Terry sipped it and clearly loved it. She raised her crepe over to Miranda, but could tell that there was an inherent intent to make it look nice. With all the assorted toppings piled on, so much could be done. Miranda took a huge bite with gusto and sighed happily. Terry seemed satisfied and took another sip of Miranda's drink. They had both only gotten one thing, probably because they knew they'd end up sharing. Cove, do you want to share ours? Terry, Miranda, can I join in on sharing? You offered to share what you had with everyone. You said nothing and started consuming. I don't usually share food, but I want to get an indirect kiss from Cove, so... His face lit up with excitement and he passed you his crepe.
Of course.
You exchanged treats and took a chomp on the lemon crepe. It was light with the sourness from the lemon and the sweetness from the syrupy berry mix. The smoothie was finally blended with the occasional chunk of strawberry. Cove seemed to enjoy his taste and he swapped back. He smiled as he took a loud sip from the smoothie. Thanks, you always get good stuff. With that, Cove started to eat his treats in earnest. You saw him take a huge gulp of his smoothie, and then, without swallowing, he added a bite of his lemon crepe. Cove? Terry tore off a piece of her crepe and held it out to Cove.
So?
Care to make a trade? Sure. Instead of continuing to loiter into the parking lot, the four of you started to walk down the sidewalk. There was a lot of sharing going on, with the crepe bits and the toppings being tossed around. You wouldn't have been surprised if Terry ended up drinking more frappe than Miranda did. You kept going down the way, eating, drinking, and chatting. You hadn't realized just how far the group had wandered now that you ended up at the now leaving sign. Apparently, you were just about to walk right out into the middle of nowhere. Terry took her mouth off of Miranda's straw and stopped sipping the frappe. Impossible! Preposterous! How are we already at the end? I always forget how tiny this town really is. Cove chuckled a little and swallowed a chunk of Terry's crepe.
I guess.
It kinda is, huh? It didn't feel that small when we were growing up. It definitely felt bigger then. It always seemed like there wasn't much here. There are tiny places out there. You guys are sure lucky to live in decent-sized cities. You nodded along. You shrugged. It definitely felt bigger then. There's a time when Sunset Bird had felt huge. It seemed as endless as the ocean. There's always some street you hadn't wandered down, something new for the tourists. But now, you had realized it was just a pond in this big, big world. Seeing the definite end only reinforced this. Here was the boundary that proved your hometown could be walked out with ease. I guess this means we should probably head back. One doesn't just walk into nowhere land. We're not the only one, Terry. There's four of us. Terry scrunched up her face, not wanting to acknowledge the bad joke. She decided to ignore it. It stinks having to go all the way back. Yeah, but it's not like there's anything out in that direction. And if we did keep going forward, it'd be a longer trip home. You started off into the stretch of road as Cove agreed that you didn't want to go out any further. Can we take a break here first before we turn around? We've been walking for a while and someone finished my drink. Right on cue, Terry loudly sucked air from the straw. It was so good. Miranda looked at her, but Terry remained unrepentant. In the end, though, it was agreed to hang around this time before heading back to the car. It didn't take long to finish the rest of the food and drinks. Everyone gathered up the trash and stuffed it into bags and pockets for now. The group relaxed onto the grass, keeping account on all the cars that drove past. It was not a high number. 14. The nearest passing car drove into town from somewhere outside. But as the vehicle came by, it slowed down and you watched as it ultimately rolled down to a complete stop. The black car parked right by the now leaving sign. Everyone exchanged a baffled look. But then, the tinted window rolled down and the driver peered out. As soon as you saw his hair, you recognized him. No one else knew he presented himself so distinctively. Hey neighbors! Oh, Baxter! Cove also jolted with recognition. He passed it on a cordial smile and waved politely. Afterwards, he put his mouth back over the straw of his long empty drink as if trying to act cool. You waved at him. Hi. You just wondered what he was doing here. You wish he hadn't stopped to chat. You smiled and you were excited to see him. Hi. You inhaled and tried to be loud enough to account for the distance in the car noises. It's nice to see you again. Somehow he was able to project his voice in such a way that it still sounded smooth, even though he was definitely speaking loudly. You wondered where he'd learned to do that. And you thought about the odd picture this made. A fancy black car pulled over to talk to a group of teens mostly still in beachwear. Miranda was incredibly confused and shrank back to watch. Terry tilted her head in an unexpected question. Cove made a quick gesture pointing towards Baxter and a light bulb went off for Terry.
Alright.
Ah, that's a new person in the condo. The B-man, right? Yeah, Baxter.
Oh.
I wasn't sure if I'd ever actually see him. Her voice was quiet. Miranda usually got shy around new people. Terry was quite the opposite. Incredible, this is perfect! Terry hopped from the grass and ran to Baxter's car, all full of excitement. Behind her, Miranda picked herself up and dusted imaginary dirt off her clothes. She sent a searching look to you and Cove, to which Cove shrugged, Miranda nodded with, and clenched fists, hesitantly followed Terry. Terry bent down to talk to Baxter through his window. She blasted through introductions, with Miranda putting in a shy wave. Cove looked at you. He still clearly had no intention of going over. You stayed with Cove, you went over to Baxter, you encouraged Cove to come. I'll encourage Cove. Come on, let's go on and see him. Cove pouted. His cheeks flared out in a childish puff. I don't want to. I don't know what to say.
Fine.
You can go. I'll just wait until he's gone. You really should come. You can do it. Do you want to be the only person who doesn't go see him? Well, why can't you stay here with me instead? You sighed. He was definitely going to be difficult about this. Some days he really was that same grouchy 8-year-old you met all those years ago. You stayed with Cove, you went over with Baxter. You're being a dick, he said as he physically pushed him towards the car. That's too mean. Physically pushed him towards the car. Do you really hate him that much? Do you really hate him that much?
No.
I don't hate him, I get weird around him. I know his forwardness bothers you, but think of him like Terry. She's super friendly and loves to chat with new people. She's doing it right now. Terry doesn't hit on me. Terry doesn't hit on you, if that's what he's even doing. Baxter says things when I don't think he's actually very serious. That's what bothers me. It'll be alright. He's trying to do less of that with you, and we'll all be there. With an unnecessarily whiny groan, he relented. Fine, let's go. Slowly progress tour was made, until you two arrived at the driver's side car window. Baxter smiled welcomingly. Hello. Hey. Howdy, Baxter. Baxter gestured to Miranda and Terry. I just rented this car for my stay here and was coming back from a bit of the sightseeing when I spotted your crowd. Then these two were kindly introducing themselves. Yep, it's only polite. Speaking of polite, Baxter's giving us a ride. I was asking him to. What? Baxter shrugged guilty, seeing Cove's dramatic reaction. The offer's open, and we're taking it. Okay. You're happy just to get a ride. You're kind of annoyed that Terry did this. Feel uncomfortable with getting a ride with Baxter. Ride. Alright, plan made. Let's hop in. You excitedly opened the passenger side door and buckled yourself in. The car was pristine, and you were right near the new car's scented air freshener. Your friends clamored all in the back. It definitely seemed the slightest bit squished back here.
Does that sound alright?
Oh, God, his voice. Welcome to my vehicle. I hope everyone is comfortable, and if somebody could point me in the right direction, we can be on our way. Terry went back to navigator mode and outlined their journey. It was basically a straight line with one turn at the end in the parking lot. It took no time at all for Baxter to park right next to Cove's car. There wasn't even enough time for a proper conversation to start. The occupants didn't seem to mind. There were smiles all around when Baxter parked next to Cove's car. Woo! Miranda clapped quietly as Terry cheered. Cove chuckled nervously. He smiled. Yeah, you clapped as well. You nudged Baxter in a friendly way. You were relieved you had made it. Yeah! You felt a little bad about being so loud in the car, but Terry looked at you as a sign to chill out of herself. Baxter laughed at the celebration. We've arrived. That was easy. Terry flung open her door and climbed out.
Thanks.
Everyone congregated again in front of Baxter's and Cove's cars. Cove looked at the back on his and frowned. He finally discovered the watch me put on it. I wonder who did that. He snickered along with Miranda, who realized he'd been caught.
Ooh.
It's a mystery. Right. Terry bounced over to Baxter and offered her hands for a handshake. He accepted it easily with a charming grin. You're a pal. You're too kind. It was no trouble whatsoever. I'll be keeping this car all this summer. If it suits you, you're welcome to take my number and give me a ring whenever you're in need of another ride. And that goes for everyone here. I have a car. Terry busted into laughing, and Miranda fidgeted. She did not know what to do with that. Baxter really went fast, didn't he? He noticed her discomfort and smiled with a soft tilt of the head. I'd be happy to help again, but that's the only reason I offered. If you don't need it, you can pass on it. Can I have your number? He stayed silent. I'll have his number. He beamed wildly at your response.
Absolutely.
Baxter pulled out a pen he had with him for some reason and jotted his number down. He passed the little paper to you, and you accepted. When her giggles subsided, Terry put a hand in her chin with brows furrowed. I wonder, would that option be available right now? You could valet us somewhere cool.
What?
Cove was taken aback. He put a hand on the hood of his car. Were we going back to the neighborhood? Wasn't Baxter going back to the neighborhood too? Why would we go somewhere else? Miranda squirmed nervously and then committed to piping up.
Maybe?
We could go to the park near my place. It's really a nice place to hang out. You and Cove shared a look. The big park was pretty nice. Let's do it. Baxter tapped the side of his face and thought.
It's doable.
He glanced at Cove and then switched focus to you.
Well,
We have 2 cars. If some people want to go to the park, I could still take the others home. But if everyone's going, it wouldn't make sense for me not to. You decided to go back to the neighborhood with Cove. You wanted to continue the hangout session at the park. I wanted to hang out with Cove. You would rather go back for now. You let the group know. Both girls frowned. Neither wanted to leave you or Cove behind. Terry especially looked troubled and started bouncing in place.
No.
Today is all about us hanging out. We can't just bail. Miranda nodded in bitter lip. We don't have to go to the park. Going back to the neighborhood has plenty of appeal. It could be proved to be the better idea. Cove winced and shook his head.
don't worry about it.
No, really, it's fine. We've done plenty of hanging out today. If you want to go to the park, you should. You don't have to worry about us. Go have fun with Baxter. Okay. She didn't sound too thrilled, and Miranda patted her on her shoulder.
Okay.
I guess I'll see you later then? Probably. Cove smiled and she rolled her eyes at his wishy-washy answer. He knew he'd be seeing them again. Everyone finished saying their goodbyes and the 3 climbed into Baxter's car. You waved, bye, you nodded, you watched. Bye! Terry started to shout back and startled Baxter slightly. Miranda laughed and waved back. Terry rolled down the window. See ya! Bye, Terry. Bye, Miranda. Then Baxter rolled down his own window.
See you.
Have a safe journey back. I'll see you around the neighborhood. Baxter started to pull out of the parking lot, and Cove waved them off, slipping forward as he pulled away. Then it was just you and Cove left in the parking lot. He rubbed his hands together for a moment and unlocked his car. He got into the shotgun seat this time, and Cove took his place at the wheel. He put his key into the ignition and turned to you. I'm surprised you didn't want to go. I was ready to go back. Thank you for giving me an out. You didn't respond to that. Actually, I only wanted to go so that you have a reason to leave. I was ready to go back. Cove smiled, satisfied, and finally turned his key to start the car. Cove pulled in and parked. He shut off his car, and you both got out to stand in the road.
I guess
that's it. Thanks for the ride, Cove. I'll see you later. It was fun. Pleasant farewells given, you walked to your front door. Time ticked by as the sun started to set. Orange gold light streamed in through the windows. You could tell the weather was still really nice out there. Your attention was taken back by your phone. You saw it right away as your phone was in your hand. Miranda's personalized text tone sounded. It pinged on your desk. You saw it right away. At the top of the screen, a little alert told you that you had a new message. Hey you were gonna see fireworks. Do you want to come? Oh? And Terry texted Cove. He said he'll be there. How'd your trip start at hanging out in the park and ended at finding some previously unknown fireworks spectacle? It was definitely news to you. Fireworks? I'd love to. Yes. Okay, I'm tired. No, sorry. I'd love to. Fireworks was kind of out of the blue, but sounded like a lot of fun. That was something you couldn't miss. Miranda sent back a cheery smiley face not even 5 seconds later, then got a yay, and then sent another message that told you that Cove would be out at his car soon. You quickly got yourself ready and headed out into the world once more. On the way, you sent a message to Cove that you were coming. He texted that he was already outside. Just as promised, Cove was waiting by his car. He hadn't bothered to change at all. He was quite comfortable going around in his swim shorts. He slipped his phone into his pocket and waved you over. Without needing to say a thing, you got into the shotgun seat. You noticed that the exterior of his car was no longer coated with dust. He must have washed it in the past few hours. Direct action. Cove looked over to you from the driver's side and smirked as he started up the car. Here we go again. Yep. He pulled out into the road and raced toward the city as the sun continued to sink below the horizon. When city lights sparkled around you, Cove started looking for a parking spot. It had been a smooth drive, but unfortunately finding parking was a task. You tried to text Miranda to see where they had parked, but she admitted that there haven't been any openings around here. They had gotten lucky with one single spot. Cove had to drive around a few blocks to finally spotted something. He pulled in and parked, feeling just as triumphant, as if he'd won an actual prize. Terry sent you a text saying to hurry up and get to the waterfront. Miranda attached a helpful picture to where they were. He pointed the way to Cove, and the two of you jogged around a bend and then down the brick-lined walkway. Eventually, you saw 3 silhouettes in the distance. They started to wave and yell. One of them jumped in place and with her arms going back and forth. It had to be your friends. You rushed over to them. Miranda and Terry ran up to meet you halfway with faces full of smiles.
Hey!
We missed you! Buddies, I know the day wasn't over for us. Hey. I guess you're right. I'm happy we made it. Baxter had stepped up at some point too. He ran a hand through his hair, trying not to interrupt the reunion. Hello. Hey. It was a quiet, open area on the waterfront. Cove let out a relieved sigh after things calmed down. So did we miss anything?
Nah.
You're good. Nothing's happened yet. We think it's gonna start really soon, though. What are these fireworks even for? Well, she smiled a big grin at Miranda. Randy talked about watching fireworks at the park, and that reminded me about how there's this big company having an event tonight. I heard that we're gonna have fireworks. There's no way we were gonna be getting into that party, but... She put a finger up and her smile turned devious. I'm positive we'll still be able to see the fireworks from here. They can't hide explosions in the sky from the public. That's ridiculous. He suddenly wondered how Terry had convinced Cove to come without prior explanation. He was utterly stunned that this was the source of these fireworks. To be fair, you hadn't asked Miranda for the details either. Cove scratched his head in defeat. I guess we're already here. It's kind of too late now. You bet your wet blanket it's too late. She shook her head with exasperation, but let him off with minimal teasing. You felt excited. You thought this was kind of a silly situation. You were nervous about how close the fireworks would be. You felt pretty laid back about the whole thing. You were nervous about how close the fireworks would be. You had no idea where the fireworks were even supposed to be. For all you knew, they'd be right in front of your face and way too loud. As much as I like fireworks, I don't like when they're too close because they can be too loud. Plus, I just don't like loud noises in general. Or alternatively, the fireworks might be too far off into the distance to see clearly, hidden behind the tall buildings in the skyline, and that might ruin everyone's fun. Tari led Miranda to sit down on the oval slabs along the path. Miranda took a seat and began tapping her knees together as she waited. Terry, meanwhile, crouched more than sat. Baxter smiled politely and looked from you to Cove. He seemed to be waiting for one of you to speak first, rather than wanting to directly start a conversation. Something seemed to strike Cove as he tried to unsuccessfully hide a smile. Most of us are in swimsuits. Wearing beachwear in the middle of the city in the dark while waiting for a fireworks show was clearly the joke of the day for him. Cove snorted once and then looked back up at the sky. Fireworks! A flash lit up from the sky with a brilliant green. Your eye flew off the building in the distance and silently watched with bated breath. You heard a second boom, and a red firework lit up the night. Whoa, the show's starting! It's so pretty! They came running over to get closer, positively beaming. Terry pressed herself to the waterfront fence, getting as close as physically possible without just going swimming again. More fireworks just went off, shooting out hundreds of tiny sparkling lights. The colors stood out sparkly against the dark night of the sky. The biggest ones washed your surrounding with their hue, turning your world blue, then red, and then golden.
Welcome.
Did I deliver, or did I deliver? Miranda's eyes glittered, and she lightly bumped Terry with her hip. Good job. Terry stumbled at the friendly nudge. She was pleased with the compliment. She grinned back. Miranda lightly swung her hip to the opposite way to give you a bump as well. It was friendly and soft.
Woo!
We did it! He smiled at her and nodded. You were pleased that you hadn't missed any of the show. After all, you're glad that everyone seemed to be having a good time. You were comfortable with how near it was. Glad that everyone seemed to be having a good time. Cove stared up to the sky with wonder, while Terry squealed in joy after a series of especially grand explosions. Miranda pointed to one that was shooting up, and then gasped when it bloomed and turned into a huge sphere of violent light. Baxter smiled in appreciation. It was good to see your friends in high spirits. The rest of the group huddled around the railing to take in the show as closely as possible. Miranda stood close by. Terry's hands gripped the top. Cove laid his arms across it while leaning forward, and Baxter rested his elbows on the rail, putting his back toward the fireworks. He seemed to have more fun watching the others than the actual show. Ooh! Oh, that's so cool! Terry held up a hand for a high five, and Miranda obliged her. Terry whooped and shot you a smile. What color do you think the next one will be? Without giving Baxter a glance, Cove answered immediately. Green. It was orange. Baxter chuckled, but wasn't interested in calling Cove out for being wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Is that your favorite color? Green? It's one of them. I think that's nice. It matches you. Mm-hmm. And is yours black? That's one of them. Curve smirked just a little and left the conversation there. Progress. You stood next to the girls, you stood next to Baxter, you stood next to Cove. Cove time, baby! Cove looked away from the fireworks and grinned at you. He was glad to be spending time with you and tilted his head at a spectacular multicolored firework above. I think that's been my favorite so far. He shot you another look and nodded, wanting you to move up closer, in front of him. You could see the night's lights reflected on the water. You rested your arm on Cove's shoulder, you leaned your body against Cove, you stayed like that. Leaned your body against Cove! You rested against his side and let yourself relax. He felt solid and sturdy beside you. It was comfortable. You took a moment to watch him, and the fireworks reflected in his eyes. Cove grinned like a kid. Cove's gaze drifted from the show of the dazzling light straight at you, and he sighed dreamily. You didn't know when you'd last seen him so blissful. The spectacle continued up to the ante of bringing more fireworks out at the time. The colors danced across the sky and reflected over the water. He reached out a hand and watched as it was tinted green while a big boom sounded. Fireworks were a normal summer tradition, but this was admittedly an unconventional approach. Showing up in the city last minute to watch a display from a technically private event, that made this feel special in a way that just planning to go to a public fireworks show never would. Terry's idea may not have left you with a lot of time to prepare, but sure it led to a unique situation. It was clear that this was an unforgettable night. As the finale sounded, blazing the sky with unbelievable beauty, you remember thinking that there might never be a night exactly like this once again. Not for the rest of your life. You planned to hold on to the feelings you had in that moment for as long as you could. God, that was a long one. I bet these are all gonna be fucking long. From the moment you woke up, you knew that today was going to be busier than usual. There was a list of errands that needed to be finished before the day was done. First up was visiting one of the biggest farmers markets in the area. It was only open 2 weekends a month during certain parts of the year. It was rare that you and your family were able to attend, so your moms liked to make the most out of every minute of it. And you realized it was not just them feeling that way when you heard a whistle from your left side. Wow, this is a swanky show. Vegetables have never seemed so highbrow. Hello, Daddy Cliff. Seriously, they don't mess around with their products.
Isn't that great?
Liz crossed her arms. You could tell she was amused. We couldn't have picked a more perfect trip. It's been too long since we've had a true family outing. Her teasing tone said more than she actually did. Your next door neighbors had joined you this day, and that's what made it a true family outing. The three parents laughed approvingly. Out of the corner of your eye, you caught Cove looking at you sympathetically. Some things never changed, and some jokes never died. You'd long accepted that. You're excited to check things out. You thought the trip might be fun. You shrugged, feeling indifferent. You felt uncomfortable. You're in a bad mood. The trip was a waste of your time. You thought the trip might be fun. You smiled, trying to imagine how many stalls were set up. You're curious what hidden gems were waiting for you to discover among them. Well, I'm ready to get started. I've got plenty of dishes in mind I could use ingredients for. Before your moms responded to that, they glanced at each other and smiled. Yes, that's a very good idea, Cliff. This place is much larger than it seems. It's difficult to visit each part in a single day.
I got it.
I'm sure we can make a decent dent together at least. Actually, since there are so many of us this time, we could take different sides of the market.
Sounds good.
Divide and conquer, eh? That sounds brilliant. Everyone watched your mom surprised. No one had considered that an option, but your mom flashed the group a dazzling smile, continuing with the thought. Though it's a little unfair that there are 4 Nyampasti family members and only 2 Holdens here. So I'll go with you boys to even out the odds.
Okay.
That's fine with me. Cliff scratched the back of his neck and slowly met Cove's stare. They both seemed unconvinced that they weren't sure what to say about it. Don't worry, we'll be apart for only a few hours, and then we'll have something to talk about at the end of it. Father and son ultimately nodded. This wasn't an argument they were going to win.
All right.
I don't get the point, but I also don't mind spending the first part of the trip with Yui and Ma. Ma clapped her hands together at that. Wonderful. Are the teens ready to go? Hey, I didn't agree to anything. Yeah, let's go. Can I be the one who goes with the Holdens instead? He stays silent. Can I be the one who goes with the Holdens instead? You look from your mom to your ma, hopeful that at least you get to explore the market with Cove. You perked up at the suggestion, but then you saw Ma was pouting at your request to leave her group.
Sorry.
No can do this time, kiddo. Seeing that neither parent was budging, you slumped at your shoulders. We won't be split up too long, right? Ma hooked an arm around you, a little side hug. You grinned.
Thank you.
Taking the lead, Mom walked toward Cove and Cliff. You were still eyeing her confusedly.
Let's go.
We're heading out. Sure. Okay. Cove looked at you softly and found himself pulled forward, stopping in front of you, his expression flicked for a moment hesitant.
Bye.
Bye. Suddenly he twitched slightly, his whole body getting stiff. He jerked his gaze back at your mom, and you realized that she had let go of the hem of his shirt. She gave it a small tug before letting it go.
No.
Time's a wasting, Cove. I've known you long enough to be aware that you're one to linger. If I don't stop you now, you'll only drag your feet on parting ways more. The two of you can survive one morning apart, probably. You have important shopping to do now. His face burned red, but that was ignored by him. He spoke with an unimpressed roll of the eyes.
Seriously?
You don't need to literally pull me away from Yui. I'm not that clingy. Mom sniggered with a shake of her head. Cove's eyebrows raised over the reaction he turned to Ma. She wouldn't meet his eyes as she whistled innocently. It was only then that it dawned on Cove that everyone did think that he was that needy. Finally, he dared to face you with wide, pleading eyes. Don't make fun of Cove. You said you were allowed to say things like that to him. Cove is totally capable of being independent when he wants to be. There's nothing wrong with being attached. It's nice. Oh, come on, Cove. You know how it is. He silently stared back at him. Cove is totally capable of being independent when he wants to be. He spoke very matter-of-fact and fixed a stern gaze on the group. Cove, meanwhile, beamed at the having your support. Without thinking, Cove took another step forward and feeling drawn to you. Also, again, Mom grabbed the back of his shirt. She tried suppressing her laughter, but a few chuckles escaped. Actions speak louder than words. Cove's mouth twisted as he struggled to come up with something to say in his defense. He was newly embarrassed all over again. Yeah, well, so what? That admission had Liz, your mom's, and his dad bursting out into laughter. Hey, it means he likes me, okay? At least I have someone that likes me. Oh wait, that's right, I have Rainbow. Cove grimaced and walked several steps from the group before stopping. He clearly wanted to move on, so much that he was physically moving away. He smiled softly and waved goodbye. When he noticed, Cove's mouth pulled into a bent smile of his own, and seemed to feel a bit better at that.
See you later.
Take care of yourselves. At that, Mom picked a direction and set out into the market with Mr. Holden and Cove following behind her. Grinning, Ma sent them off with a big wave. Liz gave a daintier goodbye wave herself. Despite the change in plans, you're still glad to be there. You felt like change in plans was a good idea. You felt unsure about it. You'd been happy, but now you're annoyed. That definitely put a damper on your good mood. Despite the change in plans, you're still glad to be there. It wasn't what you'd imagined, but that didn't matter. There was a whole market to explore, and you couldn't wait to find some good stuff. When they were gone, Ma cheerily turned towards you and Liz. She put her hands on her hips. Do you think there'll be any nice ginger around here? We'll have to find out. You nodded in agreement, keen to truly get the trip going. Ma led you both into the busy market. Some time passing browsing, there were only a few stalls you stopped at. You had fun chatting and laughing, pointing out various things to Ma and Liz and vice versa. At one point, Ma stopped suddenly. She put a hand on her belly and gave a half-hearted smile. I think I should have used the bathroom before you left home like the two of you responsibly did. Just need to pee?
Yes.
Yes, Liz, I'll have to visit the ladies' room now. Should we wait here? Should Liz and I go on without you? Should we all go with you? Should we wait here? Ma craned forward as she struggled to pinpoint the direction she needed to go. She gently brushed your comment away. There's no need to worry about me for this or waste time standing around. Keep on shopping. Though actually, I might need help finding my way. Can you please come, Lizzie? You and your sister had to share a look over that. Why do that of all things?
Hey.
Ma, if anyone needs to go anywhere on their own, shouldn't it be you? You're the one needing a detour and you're the parent here. Ma giggled, unfazed by the resistance. Liz, meanwhile, tipped the brow of her hat up, watching Ma skeptically. Soon enough, Yuli will have to handle doing these kinds of errands on her own. This makes a good practice. What? Ma hooked an arm around Liz's and would hold her along.
Have fun.
We'll find each other again later. Excuse me. Bye. Wait! You waved. You tried falling after him. You stood there stunned. Wait! The word burst from your lips as Ma and Liz waded into the crowd, but it was in vain. They were out of sight within moments, and what started as a group outing rapidly became you, entirely on your own. You were overwhelmed. You thought, screw them. You were done with this whole trip. You felt great being left on your own. You thought Ma was being ridiculous, but you didn't really mind. You didn't know what to think. Overwhelmed. Because sudden change of plans, like being on my own, can, really overwhelm me. You weren't prepared at all to be flung around here on your own. You walked off on your own. You found a place to sit where they left. You texted Cove to meet up. Cove! At that point, you had no interest in your mom's plans. They weren't going to stick around to follow it through. You were going to do what you actually wanted. Taking out your phone, you quickly pulled out your chat with Cove up and sent, "Want to shop together, or could I join your group?" Ma and Liz went off themselves and left me. It wasn't long enough before he got a response back. Cove responded in rapid-fire messages. What? Wait. Where are you? You took a survey of surroundings and then sent him a description of where you were and the path you took to get there. While you waited for his response, you watched as the people moving around past you. There wasn't a single familiar face. When your phone received a new text, you breathed out a sigh of relief. Okay, I'm on my way. Great, thanks. You placed your phone back where it belonged and checked around for a nearby stall to kill time at. One pulled your focus. Ooh, what's this? While most stalls were selling various garden-grown foods, this one had an array of homemade fudge. Oh, it's fudge! Neat! There are even vegan versions of every option. You got closer to the stall, but your gaze soon drifted elsewhere. Get closer! You sidestepped past a few of the other people and got yourself right in front of the counter for a better look. There's a wide spread, dozens and dozens of delicately cut squares of decadence. The owner smiled and approached you to explain the shop. The fudge is sold in boxes of 4 pieces. They can either be all the same, all different, or any mix you like. Are you looking to buy any today? You didn't want to get any. You wanted to get yourself a box. You wanted to get a box to share with everyone. You wanted to get a box just for Cove. A box to share with everyone. The whole selection was too good not to share. You wanted to get yourself a box just for Cove. Looking at the treats made you think of Cove. You grinned, hoping you liked what you picked. You wanted to get a box for yourself. Your mind was already filling with thoughts of sinking your teeth into the delicious fudge. There was no walking away empty-handed now. That was all. Yeah, I could use some fudge. I'm glad you came to the right place then. For yourself, you picked... Ooh, just a bunch. Milk chocolate, dark chocolate, white chocolate, cookies and cream, caramel swirl, chocolate peanut butter, dark chocolate mint, red velvet, maple walnut, white chocolate peppermint, chocolate toffee key lime. Milk chocolate. And red velvet, and I think I'll just get mint chocolate and milk chocolate and red chocolate. No, chocolate peanut butter and cookies and cream. For the group you picked, I'll just get milk chocolate, dark chocolate, white chocolate, and cookies and cream. And for Cove, I feel like key lime, white chocolate peppermint, caramel swirl, and cookies and cream. Shop owner carefully put your order together. You couldn't help but try to imagine how Cove might react when you presented this to him. Everyone else was definitely going to be happy when you regrouped later. You paid, and there was no stopping the large grin going across your face. Pivoting on your heels, you wove your way back to where you were initially. You kept yourself on alert, trying to spot Cove among the crowd. For the next several minutes, you stood there on high alert, trying to spot Cove among the crowd. You broke into a smile when you saw his familiar seafoam hair sticking out above the masses. He hadn't seen you yet, but Cove was walking with purpose in your direction. You notice he was hefting a couple bags in his hand. Cove, over here! He instantly stopped dead in his tracks. Alert, Cove's head snapped and his eyes searched the crowd until they landed on you. His whole demeanor brightened at the sight. Yui! But even from a distance, you could tell his mood shifted again. He seemed serious. He weaved through passerby awkwardly in an attempt to get through as fast as reasonably possible, nearly stumbling more than once. It only took a moment for him to arrive.
Are you okay?
Yeah, what did my mom think about you coming? I have no idea. Yours weren't the only ones to just leave. Your mom took my dad before you even messaged. You're kidding. I wish. I can't believe this happened to both of us. They planned it. They had to. But I don't know why. Are they pranking us? I don't know either. Our parents are shipping us. They want us to get married and have grandbabies. And you meant it. You couldn't fathom what your moms were up to. Cove shook his head, trying to clear his mind.
Well,
I guess things are just up to us now. Yeah. So, his gaze wandered off to as if one of your parents might simply appear if he kept checking, and you could tell if he was still processing the situation. He scratched the back of his neck, looking sheepish. Do you still want to go shopping with me? Definitely. Cove beamed, and you were ecstatic at the thought of spending the rest of the trip with him. It was finally time to take some control back over your day.
don't worry about it.
Even if we have to make our own fun, we're gonna have a fun trip. Cove smiled at you encouragingly. It made you feel more optimistic now, a bit more hopeful. God, he was there, but still overall unhappy. Nothing, just a terrible trip, by the way. More optimistic now. Having him there was already comforting, and now he seemed determined to improve your day by any means. That had you looking forward to what was coming next. So where to first? I don't mind going back the way I came, if it's new to you. It's not hard to miss the stuff even if I've gone past it. What have you gotten? Cove shuffled his bag around and started pulling them open so you could peek inside each one. You recognized the array of things he picked up around the market. I must have got typical things I can use pretty easily so far. Nothing super exciting. There were a few cucumbers, some lemons, some sweet potatoes, among other things that were wrapped up so you couldn't discern what they were. What Cove brought made sense, but it was far more from a complete selection. You glanced around at the nearby stalls. Want to start over there? Cove followed your eye as you pointed at the larger stalls. It was filled with several kinds of staple fruits and vegetables.
Come on.
Yeah, let's go. Once a few people finished paying and moved, you and Cove got yourselves directly in front of the shop. There's so many things to pick from. Apples, oranges, peaches, strawberries, onions, peppers, lettuce, cucumbers, carrots, lemons, limes, spinach, potatoes. You didn't get anything. I want lemons, limes, apples, strawberries, peaches, cucumbers, carrots, oranges, and that was everything. Shop owner put your selection together and handed it to you in a couple of bags. Happily, you paid and waited for Cove to make his purchase. Ready to go? Cove grinned, satisfied with his new choices. He added another bag to his small but growing collection. You nodded.
All right.
Let's go. Together, you and Cove wandered to the market on the lookout for any stalls that caught your attention. Cove was walking around with a spring in his step, talking about the various meal ideas he had in mind. After a while, you had to go greater distances to find something of interest. Several of the stalls were selling the same goods. It was only a matter of which one you wanted to buy from. You continued ambling down the path until Cove disappeared suddenly from your peripheral vision, pulling you away from your thoughts. Cove? You spun around, spotting him some steps back. He was standing still. You followed him, his eye line past the crowds. Immediately, you knew what grabbed him. Homemade jams and local honey. The stall was glittering with quaint glass jars stacked high, each encasing gels of varying colors. Cove's eyes were practically sparkling at the sight. His feet automatically began to take him there, likely without being fully aware that he made an unexplained detour. When you got closer, you were surprised that there were more varieties than you thought. There was even different honeys based on what type of pollen the bees used. Cove's focus toured between a bottle of blackberry jam and one of clover honey. Did you want some honey? You said, just to tease him. I wonder what on earth you could possibly want at this stall. Everything's really good. You shook your head and disapprovingly, you quietly left him to his dilemma. You want some honey? Dumbfounded, Cove nodded in response. His face was burning red. You grinned, waiting to be pleased with your own joke. You thought things over for yourself, too. Clover honey, orange blossom honey, spring wildberry honey, honey butter, strawberry jam, raspberry jam, blackberry jam, apricot jam, blueberry jam, plum jam, rhubarb jam, Orange blossom honey sounds good. So does spring wildberry honey. Honey butter? I'm gonna get, a lot of these. I'm gonna get clover honey, orange blossom honey, spring wildberry honey, honey butter, strawberry jam, raspberry jam, blueberry jam, and that's it. You paid, and the shop owner started putting together you ordered. You carefully packed it into a couple bags of paper. Thank you very much. Amused, you watch Cove give in and just buy both the clover honey and the blackberry jam. He also went all in, getting spring wildberry honey and plum jam too. Thank you. Oh, jinx. You both stepped away from the stall. Cove didn't fail to notice the look you'd been giving him since he agonized going over his toast toppers. Hey, this doesn't go bad for a long time, so why not stock up? I could have chosen one if you wanted to. Sure, and I get it. Why do you think I got so many too? Good then. As you began to stroll, Cove looked up at the sky. He smiled. It was sort of unexpected considering all of this was technically an errand, and unexpected changes often upset him. But he was happy, and Cove liked doing this kind of normal thing. And you could tell that Cove especially enjoyed doing these kinds of things with you. You blushed thinking about how comfortable doing this with Cove felt. You were feeling better now than you felt earlier. You were just feeling down about how the trip turned out. Cove's pleased attitude annoyed you. Why would I ever say that? That's such a bitch move. Blushy. You felt more than normal or mundane. It felt right. I'm glad you're having a good time. We're so domestic. I wonder what the others are doing right now. You remain silent. We're so domestic. Cove took a sharp intake of air and started coughing for a moment. Afterwards, he refused to look at you. Are we? I guess we are. Later, when you spotted a less crowded area, you took a break from browsing. Cove started rummaging through one of his bags just to check on how his goods were doing. A smile grew on his face as he went on to the next. You chuckled knowing that Cove wouldn't let anything go to waste. There wasn't a single doubt he was going to eat it all. You held a hand in front of your face as he squinted upwards. The sun had moved quite a bit, but you had been in the market for a good while now. Neither your feet nor your arms were sore right now, and Cove looked to be doing fine too, but that was something that could be coming. There is a price to pay for this much shopping, and it wasn't always just in money. Can you give me a piggyback ride? Could you carry my things? Want me to carry your bags? Want a piggyback ride? You quietly enjoyed the break from walking. Want me to carry your bags? Cove stared at you unsure, but he held a hand out expectantly. You don't have to do that. I bought it, and besides, you're already carrying stuff. That's not going to change anything. I want to do it for you. Okay, you win. Or it's actually kind of a loss if you're willing to take. No, it is a win.
Thanks.
Cove bundled up his bags into 2 groups and held them out for you to take. You accepted, but had to temporarily put all the bags down on the ground. He chuckled, watching you shuffle the bags around so each arm wasn't carrying too much.
Thank you.
Really, it's nice of you. No problem at all. Standing up straight up with the bags, you were all set and to get going. You grinned, happy to do this. And with that, you and Cove continued your trip throughout the market together. Ma and Mom had both texted you during the trip, though only to say that they hoped you found some good stuff and that they'd see you later. There were no answers on where they went or why. You and Cove continued to wind your way through the bustling market, the list of outstanding items steadily shrinking while bags grew heavier. Eventually, Cove realized that he hadn't checked his own phone in a while. TV came to a stop in the nearest alcove where he'd be put out of the steady stream of people perusing the stalls, and he put out his phone. Cole put out his phone. You watched his eyes dart over the screen as he read the waiting messages. Not important. I can reply to that later. He mumbled his verdict under his breath. Then Cove's face scrunched up with confusion.
Huh?
Wait, I've got a message from my dad. Listen to this. Cove, I wasn't part of the plan. I didn't know what was going on when I left with Yui's mom. Where are you? He sent that ages ago. I didn't hear it come in. He sent another one since then, saying he hopes I'm right and that he's not bothering me. The newest one says everybody's going to the parking lot soon and we can meet up there. He lowered his phone, his eyes narrowed. The same conclusion that was settling on you had landed on Cove as well. So it was on purpose. Yep, you've been boofed. He was rubbing the screen off his phone against his shirt, wiping away dust and debris. You continued scrubbing the screen long after anything could have remained, the action a poor substitute for pushing away the awkwardness of the moment. You felt alright about it all. The whole mess was upsetting to you. You were furious. You didn't care about what your moms had done. Struggling to comprehend this. Shock was too fresh for you to even to know how you felt. You felt alright about it all. There was no malice behind the plot. You were quite sure of that. Your moms must have had their reasons for doing this, and it hadn't harmed you in any way. Okay, fine. How are they going to explain this? They can be really weird, huh? You shrugged. You exhaled a tired sigh. They can be really weird, huh?
Are you okay?
His voice was gentle. Yeah, really. That's good. Abandoning us without a warning wasn't really a cool idea, even if they meant well, which they probably did. Not making a big deal out of this is nice. I'm not exactly thrilled, personally, so if you want to complain to me, you can. I can't. I don't have anything to complain about. Maybe I am kind of mad. Okay, I'm disappointed. You can be kind of annoying to me. You didn't say anything. I don't have anything to complain about. Nothing? Ever? I don't know. His mouth hung open, and then he laughed.
No way.
Come on, you've got to have plenty of stuff to complain about, just from the stunts I pulled myself, let alone what's happened today. You cracked a grin at that despite yourself. He could certainly be a troublemaker when he wanted to be, but he could also be so kind. After a moment, he stepped away from you, face turned. Cove closed his eyes and took a deep breath. His brow creased and then furrowed deeper into a scowl. His arms tightening, coiling together. So they did do something stupid. I knew it. His voice had taken on an exaggerated quality. What truly distinguished it from Cove's typical speaking tone was the abundance of rage. This is such a chore. Parents are so dumb. Why do people have to go places with family members anyway? I hate them. He got it instantly. It had been years since the boy with the bowl cut had been in town for the summer, but Cove had never forgotten. Oh, he's mocking Jeremy. Oh, okay. That's funny. That's clever. To this day, he continued to unleash his impersonation whenever the moment felt right. Sometimes you wondered if the act had grown more exaggerated over the years, or if the kid really was always that ridiculous. You bursted out laughing, you shook your head at Cove's silliness, you played along, you smiled quietly. That kid is never going to live that down, huh? You quietly sighed. Played along. Wow, what is wrong with you?
No.
I'm not wrong, actually. If you were as smart as me, you'd know that. Cove gave you a lopsided smile, letting the joke rest for now. Come on, we should probably meet up with the group. Yeah. You didn't dally any longer, slipping back into the crowd and making your way towards the entrance of the farmer's market. It didn't take long to reach the parking lot. Your parents, Mr. Holden and Liz, were already waiting there. They waved at you both as you approached. Your own family seemed to be in pretty good moods, in contrast to Mr. Holden. He stared at Cove with open concern as you got closer. Hey, bud. Hey, Yui. How you doing? We'd be doing better if you hadn't been abandoned at a farmer's market by your families. You saw your mom's frowning at his response, Ma glancing from Cove to Mom with blinking eyes. Just because Yui's really laid back doesn't mean you can just leave her out of your plans and expect her to go with it every time. Ma hung her head ashamed, and Mom had a hand pressed to her cheek. You could tell that they were quickly regretting their scheme.
I'm so sorry.
You were trying to make the errand more of a trip, less of a chore. Ma nodded. We didn't think you, Cove, and Liz wanted to be stuck trudging around a market with your parents all day. Especially not in the summer. But you're always very thoughtful and don't like to leave your moms behind, so we did ourselves. It was only going to be for the market and not the other stops, I promise. Still, you're right. We could have just told you and let you make your own call. I really am sorry. Neither of us meant to upset you.
I'm really sorry.
All gas, no brakes, and we should have known better. Sorry. Ma ditched me too. After pulling her urgent potty breaks done, if that helps, I went off to do my own shopping as seems they planned.
Sorry.
I didn't check back with you. I wasn't thinking and just tried to blow it off. You quietly took in your stories about what happened. Over to the side, Cove was talking to his dad. Thanks for telling me something was up, though I feel bad for missing the warning when you sent it.
You're welcome.
It's no trouble, sport. I learned my lesson about making surprise plans.
Not bad.
We're really being outplayed today. You realize that you haven't been the only onlookers to the Holden's moment. Your moms were exchanging rueful looks. Liz had her arms crossed over her chest, patiently watching it all unfold. We better find some way to catch up.
In that case.
Maybe we can do Yui's chores for the next week? Mom jabbed Ma on the shoulder. You might be onto something. Yui, how'd you like the sound of that? He looked at you hopefully. Sounds good to me. Make it 2 weeks. You're gonna have to do more than that. I'll think about it. You don't have to do anything. I was never mad. Make it 2 weeks. Mom laughed despite your totally serious words. I hear you. And at the very least, we can make sure everyone stays together for the rest of the stops we're making today. You all nodded at the suggestion.
Yes.
We won't let you down. We'll be the best sheepdogs ever, guarding the flock and chasing any strays.
Funny.
We could at least be shepherds. You chuckled, your mood lifting in spite of the bumpy morning. It was going to be alright. You turned to the entrance for the farmer's market for one final glance, pressing it into your memory under this new light. You thought on what you'd picked at the market and how you were going to enjoy it later. Some things you could only get from local suppliers like this. That was another perk about coming along to the market today. Actually, you realized that this would be a good time to bring out the fudge you got to share while everyone was clustered together. Hey, wait, before we go, I got something for everybody. You dug your hand into the bag and pulled out the specially selected treat. I thought of this amazing fudge sauce, so I got a box for all of us to share. Ooh,
Aww.
that's so sweet of you. The Holdens were wearing matching grins at the prospect of free dessert, their family resemblance more notable as they mirrored each other's expressions. Sweet is the right word for this. Thanks very much, Yui.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're fantastic.
Can't wait to bust it open. We should save it for tonight. We can't properly enjoy a treat when there's still chores to be done. Besides, we don't want to make a mess with it melting in this heat. The others murmured their agreement and nodded. Reaching a consensus, they stowed the box away safely for now. Cove then settled it up next to you, an eager smile on his face. You could tell from his expression that he was up to something. Thanks again for getting fudge. It was really cool of you. You knew he hadn't come over just to thank you individually, not with that huge smirk. I got something to share too, but well, only really with you. I guess I'm not as nice. Oh well. Ew, Cove. You cooked up a scheme of your own? He laughed. Anyway, well, I sort of picked something out with you in mind. You held a hand to your chest, staring at Cove as he explained further.
I mean...
Since your mom decided we should shop separately, I figured I could use the time to get you something, just as a little surprise. He reached into one of his bags and retrieved one of the wrapped up objects. He accepted the unexpected present and he looked on excitedly as he tore off the paper. It was a glass bottle of root beer soda. You didn't need to taste it to know that would be nice. It was a boutique product. It was heavy in your hands, the container, the smart metal cap reaffirming the quality. Even the label, constructed from coarse paper rather than a flimsy sheet of plastic, was distinctive. You were practically bouncing in anticipation, and he smiled sweetly at your reaction. It's not a big deal, but I just thought you might like it. Thank you. You didn't have to do that. You're so wonderful, you smiled at him. You're always getting me things. You shook your head at his antics. You're so wonderful. I can't believe we both got something for each other. You weren't the only one who had the idea. We're a real pair. You grinned, ready to release your surprise on him. You weren't the only one who... actually... His eyes began to widen. I got something for you too, when you weren't around. There was a burst of laughter, first from your mom, followed by a chorus of chuckles from the other three, forgotten that they were still hanging around. Fortunately, they hadn't paid you and Cove the same courtesy, and had been listening in on your conversation. You weren't even a part of it for a whole day, and you both still used that as a chance to get each other little gifts. Ma clasped her hands together, eyes bright.
Good job.
That's so lovely. A day? It was less than a whole morning.
Right?
True, I didn't even want to think about what happens when you spend real time apart. That's my boy! You reached back into the bag where you had first retrieved the box of fudge for everyone, shuffling it aside to take out the other one underneath. The first one was for everybody, but that's not all I got. I bought a second bunch of fudge that's just for you. Cove's face lit up, his grin stretching from ear to ear. The laughter that came from the others, who were fully tuned into your little show, didn't appear to reach him.
Seriously?
Really? It's only for me? Cove reached out and took the box in both hands, holding it like a precious treasure. Thank you, thank you, thank you! He looked at you with shining eyes. At this rate, it wouldn't just be your little group that knew that you'd been treating him. The whole parking lot was going to learn about it. Behind Cove, you could see Mom watching you both with a smile of hilarity. See, this is why he's so attached. You've spoiled him. You shouldn't make fun, Pam. It's clearly mutual. Besides, I don't hear you complaining when I'm spoiling you. Ooh! Ma pinched Mom's cheek, making her laugh as she batted the hand away.
True.
Liz clapped her hands together with the air of a teacher calling for attention. Since the other adults aren't acting like grown-ups, the rest of us are going to have to pick up the slack. It's time to get back on our schedule and continue while the rest of the errands playtime is officially over. Ma laughed while Mr. Holden grinned awkwardly. Mom hung her head in an exaggerated display of mock defeat. Kids are tough, and I can't even call them kids anymore. Liz tut-tutted with amusement at her mother. Cove shrugged, staying a neutral observer, but the small smile on his face revealed that he was enjoying the conclusion. He laughed, glad that everyone was getting along. That's right, we're all grown-ups now. With that, your trip to the farmer's market was closed. It was time to move on. There were too many of you for one car, so you and Cove had wound up in Mr. Holden's car on the way over. You figured it made sense to do the same for the next leg of the journey. You sat next to Cove in the back. Immediately after the click of the seatbelt and its lock announcement that Cove was safely strapped in, you began to unfold the box of fudge that had been given. You're gonna eat now? Uh-huh. He nodded eagerly, not taking his eyes off from the container. He lifted the top off and longingly admired the selection inside. Minty fudge is perfect for the end of snacking. It's so refreshing. Is this green fudge lime? Yeah, key lime. That's amazing because it's fudge, but also fruity somehow. That looks like cookies and cream. That's a really cool flavor for fudge. And they have one with caramel? Wow, it's gonna be so nice. Once Cove had finished bestowing praise on what you'd picked, he promptly started sampling the selection. He was smiling, licking his lips and having a grand old time. You could also tell from the way he was nibbling was turning into munching that the box wasn't going to survive the trip to the next stop. You were right. Cove had tried to savor the treats, claiming just one more until there was only one left, and the statement was finally forced to be true. He finished the last one too. He sighed contentedly. Thanks again, Yui. Those were really great. You're welcome. He picked the clean box to the slide, then rested his hands on his spoiled tummy. Cove wasn't going to be hungry for a while after that. From there, he sat wordlessly, gaze drifting to the window. I'm glad he liked the fudge he gave us. I love him. You knew Cove well enough to spot the signs of when he was physically present but mentally elsewhere. The way he would follow quiet, staring without seeing, the long blanks, all of which he was doing right now as he looked at nothing in particular. He licked his fingers absentmindedly, getting the last of the melted fudge off his hand. You were pleased he enjoyed so much? Is it too late to ask for a taste? You teased him. I would have enjoyed a bite too, you said seriously. You looked away, feeling bashful over how well your gift had been received. Is it too late to ask for a taste? Cove straightened up at the sound of your voice, his pose stiff. He turned away, his hand smacking over his mouth instead. Back at it again with the flirtation. You were miles away for a second. What were you thinking about? Cove idly rubbed at his face. Honestly, I was just thinking about how nice it is to know you. It, makes life better and everything. Though he was turned away from you, his eyes were round and sincere. Not that this is a new relation, but today was another reminder. I'm lucky. That's so sweet. I feel lucky too. You laughed happily. You blushed. His words stunned you. Blushies. He peeked at you from the corner of his eyes, still too shy to look at you from directly. You smiled at him affectionately, eliciting an equally caring smile from Cove in return. You felt content, secure in a relationship with Cove. You decided to enjoy your drink now. You wanted to save the drink for later. Decided to enjoy the drink now. If he's gonna eat the fudge, I'm gonna drink the drink. You twisted off the cap and brought it to your mouth. Even before the first sip reached your lips, the scent tickled your nostrils. You took a swig. It was refreshing, the perfect way to hit the spot after a long morning trawling through the market. This is great. Thanks, Cove. He grinned at you, pleased that his pick had been well received.
You're welcome.
You spent the rest of the day completing the remaining errands all together as a group. You had enjoyed your brief independence. You were glad that you closed the day with everyone. This one. It might not have come up from under ideal circumstances, but it had provided you with an opportunity to spend time making your own choices. You felt that you'd risen to the challenge.